ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to take this moment to say thank you for listening to the Real ResQ podcast. It means a lot to me that you enjoy these stories as much as I do. Since the start of this podcast, we've had a lot of support from all over the world. It has been amazing. Now, we have companies joining our team that also want to say thank you for all that you are doing out there standing the watch. These companies are offering discounts on their products as a way to support the rescue community and those tuning into the Real ResQ podcast. Just go to therealresq.com, click on sponsors, and see these incredible offers for yourself. This episode of the Real ResQ podcast is brought to you by Breeze Eastern, the world's only dedicated helicopter hoist and winch provider. Access, because when lives are at stake and conditions are challenging, clear communication is of the utmost importance. SR3 Rescue Concepts, because you don't know what you don't know. And Versalifts, to be your best, you need to squat your best. Breeze Eastern, they dedicate themselves to our helicopter rescue world. Since the very first helicopter rescue in November of 1945, Breeze Eastern has designed and manufactured superior rescue hoist solutions. While much of the technology and the unique mission requirements have changed over the past 75 years, their commitment to the rescuers, the operators, and those being rescued has not. Contact them today by visiting them at breeze-eastern.com. The Axness PNG wireless ICS system can bring cutting-edge wireless intercommunication system technology to any aircraft. The PNG system can be fully integrated into an existing ICS system or can be carried on and off as a mobile base station. They can go anywhere at any time on any aircraft. Plus, with the strongest and most robust waterproof handheld in the market, this system can take a hit and keep working. Their wireless intercom systems are designed to enhance situational awareness through improved communication capability. This system brings superior noise canceling technology to eliminate rotor wash and engine noise from your ICS. The Axness PNG wireless system is currently deployed in more than 1,800 public safety, air ambulance, and search and rescue aircrafts worldwide. I have personally used the Axness system in 4 different countries and on 5 different airframes. It is awesome. If you want more information, contact them today at axness.com. That's AXNES.com. You just make sure you tell them Quinny sent me. SR3 Rescue Concepts is a training company that can help your helicopter training. They train daytime, nighttime, aerial firefighting, hoist, long line, fast rope, rappel, and more. They can assist your program with standardization and safety checks or just an FAA annual refresher. With the certified flight instructor pilots and experienced crew, they are ready to help your agency keep up to date with current techniques, rules, regulations, and equipment. Plus, right now, SR3 is offering 10% off anything in their web store with the promo code, all capital letters, Real ResQ, REALRESQ. Plus, they are offering another 10% from their partners Petzl and their equipment. All you got to do is send an email to info@sr3rescueconcepts.com. Mention this podcast, the Real ResQ podcast, and they'll take care of the rest. And Versalifts. When you're at the gym working on your squats, building your leg strength for the next rescue mission, depth matters. If you're like me, getting below parallel on your squats is tough. Well, allow me to introduce Versalifts heel inserts. These gems have become one of my new favorite accessories in my gym bag. Simply place them into your regular training shoe, either on top or underneath the insole, and bam! You've got a heel lift benefit of a weightlifting shoe, but the comfort and flexibility of your regular trainers. So the next time your workout just has heavy squats, grab your V2 strength inserts. Or how about a run, pull up, push up, air squat, and another run? Grab your V2 endurance inserts. Or my own personal workout of running, clusters, and ring muscle ups. Grab your original V2 inserts and go crush it. Check them out today at vlifts.com or on Instagram at Versalist. And when you're ready to get a few pair of your own, make sure you get your 10% off with the Real ResQ discount code. Squat well, friends. Coming up next in this episode of the Real ResQ, we are joined by a guy who did 20 years of service in the U.S. military. Specifically, 3 years and 4 months were served in Vietnam. He was in the U.S. Navy, then the U.S. Army Green Beret Special Forces, codenamed Wild Carrot, and then the U.S. Air Force Pararescueman, codenamed Hawkeye. While he served, he was put in for 5 Bronze Stars. Took home 3 for sure. One of them was mailed to him, and then the other one you get to hear about a little later. 2 Air Medals, an Army Commendation, and he turned down 4 Purple Hearts. He's currently a pilot as well as a doctor. His stories are amazing, so please welcome Mr. Jim Shorten Jones. My name is Jason Quinn. I am United States Coast Guard Rescue Swimmer number 500. These are my rescues and rescues from those of us that put our lives on the line every day so others may live. This is the Real ResQ Podcast. Jim, let's make this happen. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Real ResQ Podcast. Today, I've got a guy, a PJ. Prior to that, he was in the Army as a special ops guy. Prior to that, he's in the Navy, born in England. The guy has got some amazing stories coming out. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jim Jones Shorten, a.k.a. Wild Carrot, a.k.a. Hawk, a.k.a. Jimbo, a.k.a. Am I missing any, Jim?
I don't know. My grandkids call me Hawk.
Well, the fact your grandkids call you Hawk, that's freaking badass. I love that.
Well,
Man,
that code name came up. Well, that wasn't a code name. People called me that when I was a PJ because he goes, let's bring Jim along. He's got like an eye like an eagle, like a hawk. And they called me Hawkeye. And I could pick guys out of the water like, there he is. And they'd push that little button and the plane comes back. They drop all the stuff on them, and get them down there and take care of them. But that's where that name came from.
Oh, God, I love it. So, all right, so Wild Carrot, where did that one come from?
Wild Carrot, when I was in training group for Special Forces, there was a guy there named Natalie, and he drew this picture of me with this wild red hair, and I had this, like, my shoulder was blown out by a bullet and all this stuff. And on the tip of the rifle, there was a little tag hanging down, and it was called Wild Carrot. And so when I got over to Special Ops, it's MACV-SOG, they said, you got to come up with a code name. Give us a name you want to be called. I couldn't think of anything. He says, well, some people call me the Wild Carrot. You go, well, that's your code name. And that's where that code name came from, the Wild Carrot.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I like that.
It's hilarious. All these other guys had these really cool code names. Mine's the Wild Carrot, like a vegetable running around the jungle.
There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. Right? Kind of freaking badass is what that is. I like that.
No.
Oh. No. All right, whatever. Well, I'll tell you what, Jim, like I said, man, thank you so much for coming on. I'm looking forward to hearing some of the stories because we're going to go back a little while, like actually before I was born. Not that I want to, show your age or anything, but before I was even a thought. So the first thing, before we get into that, if you don't mind, give us a little background, like who you are, where you're from, and how did you come into the Navy first?
Well, I was born in Liverpool, England. My family, probably about 3 decades back, were Irish. And the Irish left Ireland to work at Liverpool, England, to work on the ships. Like that's where the Titanic was and all that stuff. My father was a ship fitter, and he was a ship fitter in the Navy, the Royal Navy, during World War II. And he met my mom, who was a donut dolly during the Second World War, and she's Dutch, but she was born in New York. So anyway, they got together and they went over to England, and I was a sparkle in their eyes, and poof, I popped out in England. So I was born in Liverpool. And so then I think I was around 4 years old when we came to the States after that. And so we were in the States for a while. And then we had to go back to England. They ended up getting a divorce. And so when I was in England, the second time, they got divorced, and I stayed there. I went to school there and everything. And I was there for probably another couple of years or so. And then my mom raised enough money and got my brother and I back. My brother was born in the US, though. He was born in New York. So we went, came back to the States, and I've been here since. I haven't been back to England. I've been to Spain and all these other countries, but I haven't been back to England. I got to get back to my family still. We're friends on Facebook. So we talk a lot, back and forth, but, and some of them, my nieces and stuff came over, and I put them up in my house when I lived up in Tucson, and took them to all the places, Grand Canyon, the, what do you call it? The Western Studio, Old Tucson Studios.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we did all that kind of stuff. And
Nice.
I had a pool, so I had a thing where you can go up on top of my roof, and I'd come home from work and they'd be all sunbathing on my roof, getting a tan. It was like 5 or 6 girls. Only 3 of them were nieces. The rest were girlfriends. So
And you're like, oh God, like,
yeah, it was pretty cool. So they're good.
That's so funny. I like that. That's good stuff. One thing I want to recognize you. Oh, wait, no. How did you get into the Navy? What brought you to the Navy?
Oh, well, my father was in the Navy, and what happened is my stepfather and I, that's where I got the name Jones, was from my stepfather. We didn't get along. We just could not get along. He hated the fact that he married a woman with kids, kind of a thing. And so what I did is I just went ahead and just ran away from home, and I quit high school and everything. And so I just ran away from home, and then it took me about a year and a half later to become 17 so I can join the Navy. And I wasn't a citizen. I wasn't a U.S. citizen. So they ran all those papers through. So I became a citizen, and I got in the Navy, but I joined the Navy to go see the world. And where did my first duty station be? Litchfield Park, Arizona, Phoenix. I said I joined the Navy.
In the Navy.
In the Navy, yeah. It was a naval air station.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, it was a naval air station. I got stuck there. And so that's where I learned how to fly airplanes, and I learned how to skydive. I started skydiving when I was 17 and flying airplanes when I was 17.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah, and so for extra money, I used to rent my car out on the weekends, which is a no-no in the military. I even had a slush fund. Yeah, I made some extra bucks. So I did a lot of stuff, had a lot of fun. And then I finally got orders to go to Norfolk, Virginia for a ship, but the ship took forever to get commissioned. And then I volunteered to go on another ship called, it was a USS Danabala. It was a AF-56, it was a reefer ship, refrigeration ship. Okay. And we did a med cruise. So I got to go to the med cruise, got to cruise around, go to some of the countries in the Mediterranean. Came back, I worked on tugboats for a while. And then they were looking for people that wanted to go to shore duty in Vietnam. And I said, I'll go. And he says, there's a war, and at first I asked him, I said, where's Vietnam? I've never heard of the place, I didn't even know we had a war going on. So
oh my gosh.
I was just this dumb little kid that just wanted to go have fun, So I volunteered. And so I stayed there. I stayed in Da Nang, Vietnam, and shore duty, working with Cargo Handling Battalion 2 with the CBs. They're all CBs. But they were shorthanded.
Wait,
so I was
sorry. I don't know what a CB is. What's a CB?
Oh, CB, Construction Battalion. CB, like the letter C. And
okay.
It's
nice.
Construction Battalion. They're the ones that have
Coast Guard.
Yeah, I totally get it. I'm sorry.
Come on, man.
Well, Coast Guard's great, especially if you join the reserves or the Reserve Coast Guard. Because, when those guys retire, they get their pay right away, where all the other branches, they get paid when they turn 65.
Oh, so duly noted.
Yeah. So the Coast Guard is a good place to go.
All right.
So, and they do their part, they all do their part. They're a good bunch of guys, especially the swimmers, you got.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for recognizing me.
Yeah, you got. Yeah, rescue swimmers that's not an easy course. They're a good bunch of guys.
Yeah, I like them.
Yeah, no, that's a great job. That's a great job. I love the Coast Guard, man. I mean, when I was a PJ and we're coming through on the shore, coming in, in the choppers and stuff, I see those Coast Guards there on the shore. And I'm going, man, all these beautiful women around them. I'm going, man, I joined the wrong service.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But I did some training with the Coast Guard. I did that the boats, the boats that flip over and everything, they right themselves up. Yeah, I did all that stuff with them, going up in the waves and crashing upside down and all that. It was a lot of fun.
Where was that?
Yeah.
Did you go to Astoria, Oregon to do that?
Yeah, that's exactly where it was. It was in Oregon. I was gonna say Washington, but it was in Oregon. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Why did you go there?
I was underwater operations with the 12th Reserve Group, and we just booked it, and they said, okay, come on, we'll put you out there and see what it's like. It wasn't a full complete school. It was just getting on the boats and what it was like.
Wow.
Flipping around. Yeah, it was great. A lot of fun. So they're good. In fact, I've got an award from the Coast Guard.
What? Come
Yeah,
on.
from when I was a PJ. Our unit worked, when I was with the 129th Aerospace Rescue Recovery, ARRS.
Yeah.
When I worked with those, we did a lot of work with the Coast Guard, a lot of work for them, and they gave us an award. It's oh heck, I don't even know what the award is, but it's a little, I think it's a kind of a bluish colored ribbon, and it's got like a little O in the middle of it or something. I don't know what it is.
Okay. I
Yeah,
can't think of it off the top of my head, but-
it's not a medal, it's a ribbon. It's not
Oh.
a medal, but it's a ribbon. Yeah, and they gave it to all of us that were doing all this work for them. It's really cool. Yeah, I got so I think that's the only thing I got.
You got an award from the Coast Guard, and you weren't even in the Coast Guard. That's fantastic.
Exactly. Well, I wasn't in the Marines either, but my first air medal was with the Marines.
Oh my gosh! What?
Yeah. So I guess I hit all the branches, didn't I?
You might have a medal or an award from all 5 branches. That's pretty impressive. Well done, sir.
Yeah, the Navy, the Army, and I know I've got something from the Air Force. I don't know what it is, but and then the Coast Guard and the Marines. Yeah, because I flew on my days off when I was in the Navy. I used to go over to Marine Air Group 16 over in China Beach.
Okay.
And I used to go up there and fly with those guys, help them load and unload wounded and supplies and stuff like this, just so I can get out in the field. I wanted to get out there because all I did was work on the piers, loading and unloading equipment and driving trucks, from say like Da Nang down to Chulai and stuff like that. So when I was with the Marines, they gave me an air medal, and I got my air medal in the Army. An air medal was 50 or 50 missions, I think 25 missions for an air medal, something like that. I don't know. I can't remember.
Wow.
But every time you're going in and out, all that time builds up. So
yeah.
I almost got an air medal for valor. In fact, the guy I was with, he came up to me and he goes, they said you can either get a Bronze Star or you can get an air medal for valor. And at the time I said, no, I'll take the Bronze Star. So I got the Bronze Star, and he took the air medal for valor. His name was Steve
gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because when we got into the firefight, we were hanging on the end of ropes. We weren't on the ground when we got into the firefight. And that's how we got the medal for valor. So that's funny.
You know what? Actually, I'll tell you what. I know we're kind of jumping around a little bit, but I'm going to mention this now because we're just talking about stuff. Right now, you were put in for 5 Bronze Stars. You earned 3 for sure. So you have 3 right now. There are 2 there. One of them you mentioned, I might have had a little disagreement with somebody and they didn't like you and whatever. It happens.
Well, you know what happened on that? What happened?
I can't wait.
I was getting ready to go on a mission, and this was in MACV-SOG when I was the 1-0 of the team leader for RT Delaware. And so I went into the dispensary to get a bunch of belly bandages in case we got hit in the gut. You want these big bandages. So I went there to get that. And the CO, McGowan was his name. He comes walking in. He sees me there. He goes, Jones, what are you doing here? I says, I'm picking up some belly bandages. I'm going on a mission. He goes, oh, usually when recon's here, they're looking for a way out of the field. And I go, what an asshole. Then why don't you put your butt out in the field and see what it's like, So anyway, so when I came back from the mission, I'm sitting in this office, and I'm sitting on a desk, and I got my back to the door, and Johnny Plaster was there. He wrote the book on secret commandos and all that. Anyway, he wrote that book, and there was another Lynn Moss. Lynn just passed away not so long ago, but he was there. They were sitting on a couch, and I'm sitting there going, do you know what that asshole McGowan told me? He goes, what? He goes, usually when recon's in the dispensary, they're looking for a way out of running the missions. All of a sudden I hear the door close behind me, but I thought it was another recon guy coming in. And I hear this slap on the gut, like, you better get your shit together. And I turned around, and it was the commander of SOG. It was a guy named Colonel Sadler at the time. Anyway, he hits McGowan in the gut and says, you better get your shit together. And I'm going, oh, I'm in trouble now. So But he hated me because Sadler heard it. And so he shot me down for everything. He hated my guts. I saw him a few years ago, and I talked to him about that mission. He goes, "Oh, I remember that mission. Yeah, I remember you," like that. And I said, "Sir, I just want to say I apologize, and I just want to put it behind us." He says, "Okay," and he just continues eating. And I'm just sitting there. Are you going to say anything? I haven't nothing to say. You know, I just got up and left. What an asshole! Nobody liked him. Nobody
Wow.
liked Bushy Brows McGowan. He had these big bushy brows, you know. And we had this Connex box parked there, and it had this big vulture sitting. You know, somebody painted a vulture on the box, and it had these big bushy brows on it, and it says, "Hell, I want to kill someone," you know, because he would put us in the field and never get us out again. Ray, break contact, continue mission. Break contact, continue mission. We're running out of ammo, you know. And finally, you know, after about 3 or 4 days, says, "Well, we better get them out of there; they'll be dead." So we got them. They get us out. It was one of those kind of guys. Just CCN, where Tilt was, they had one of the same type of guys. They had a guy named Cole. Was it Cole? Some they had a guy up there who was the same way. They'd wait for a little opening in the clouds, put them in. The opening would close up. They get in trouble. They can't get them out.
Oh my
So
gosh.
yeah, I mean, they lost whole teams. We did too, but they lost. I think they lost 2 whole teams in one day
Oh my
up in
gosh.
CCN. Yeah, whole team got wiped out.
Wow.
And then
Wow, wow, wow.
you get caught with your pants down, and you got like 1,000 or 2,000 enemy coming after you, and there's only like 6 or 7 of you. You know, it gets pretty nasty. They had one team that went in, got hit with over 10,000 enemy.
Oh my God.
Yeah, half the team made it out. Their other half were killed, but they made it out. Pararescue PJ's got them out with the Super Jollies, the
Dang.
H-53s. Yeah,
Oh my God. You know,
and
the
even
stories,
the
you know what? I gotta drop this one in here too. The little plug here. So Andrew, my brother Andrew, he's a fellow PJ. He's the one that kind of said, "Hey, you gotta talk to Jim here. This is amazing." You were on Sogcast, SOG cast, CAST, and that's a part of Jocko. So everybody that listens to Jocko, go check that out. So Tilt, you mentioned Tilt, John Stryker Meyer. He's like, you guys work together over there, and this is how all this has come up. So this is the stuff you're talking about, you know, going in Vietnam and across the fence.
yeah, Tilt was
Jeez.
a CCN out of Da Nang. He worked missions in North Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia. He did a couple in Cambodia, where you get sent down to different areas to work.
Yeah.
But Cambodia wasn't their area of operation. He just went down there and worked. He had some great missions. The
Yeah.
enemy tried to burn him out one time because Cambodia is all elephant grass.
Okay.
I mean, the enemy set a fire around him, trying to get them burned out, trying to burn them up, you know, stuff like that. And they got a chopper came down and just started blowing the fire the other way, trying to get it out so they can get through there and get out. They got out. So the
Oh
King
my
Beast,
gosh.
the Vietnamese pilots, they were awesome. So, but yeah, my area of operation was Laos and Cambodia, right in the tri-border.
Right on. So now, all right, let me back up a little bit. So still in the Navy, you're over in Da Nang, you said, yeah? So
Yeah.
how did you make the transition from there into the Army?
Well, when I was in the Navy over there, I drove a lot of trucks. And so I drive from Da Nang to Chu Lai and stuff like that. And I'd pick up these Green Beret guys, especially the ones from CCN, where Tilt was. I'd pick
Okay.
them up on that road going to China Beach. And because I was at the other end of that peninsula with the Navy. So anyway, I'd pick them up and, you know, and I'd talk to them and, you know, they'd tell me a few stories and stuff like that. And then that song came out because I was getting ready to leave the Navy and go in the Navy SEALs. Or back then it was UDT, and they were just transitioning to SEALs. But UDT, for those that don't know, is underwater demolition teams, and
Thank you.
sea, air, land. You know, but anyway, so I picked these guys up. So then that song, only 3 out of 100 makes Green Beret, and I'm sitting there going, I can do that. You know, I was a gymnast in high school. I was a gymnast, so I was in really good shape. So and I did 200 push-ups, 200 sit-ups, 200 jump jacks every morning without fail. And I had a rope there too. I used to climb the rope every day, like 3, 4, 5 times a day. And so I was in pretty good shape. So when I came back to the States, I couldn't handle all the hippies and all that stuff. And so then, because I stayed in Da Nang there for 22 months, I learned the Vietnamese language while I was there. So I went ahead and put in for special forces, and I took my test, a battery test as a civilian, and they guaranteed me special forces. So I went ahead, I passed that test, I passed it with flying colors. I go to a basic, Army basic training. I did that. I went to advanced infantry training, and I was the outstanding trainee of the battalion. I was the #1 guy in the battalion that went through training in advanced infantry. I got that little statue and the certificate and all that junk. So then from there, I went to jump school, which I was already skydiving, so jump school was a piece of cake. From there, I went to special forces, and they put me in communications. I finished phase 1. Then they put me in communications. I had a heck of a time trying to learn that ditty dum dum ditty. So I told the cadre there, I said, look, get me out of this thing. I says, get me out of this commo. I said, look, don't lose me. I said, I worked with the Seabees. I said, put me in engineers. I says, I'm good in math. I said, I speak Vietnamese. I got a working knowledge of the language. Don't lose me. And so they took me out of there. They put me in demolitions, engineers. So that was a piece of cake. Then I went through phase 2. And when I was in phase 2, I started hearing about this CNC stuff, and all these guys are telling me, whatever you do, don't go to CNC. Don't go to CNC because you get yourself killed there. Go to an A-team or something first. So I called up the Pentagon, talked to Billy Alexander. She's like a Q. She's like not Q, like M in James Bond. She's like M.
Okay.
Yeah. So I called her up and I said, get me back to Vietnam. I want to go back to Vietnam. And she goes, okay, just don't do anything foolish. I'll get you back there. And so I was the very last guy out of my class to get orders. And I was the only one that went directly to Vietnam.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, all the rest cross-trained to another, because you get cross-trained in special forces. They went to other classes. They got sent to the 6th group, the 3rd group, because those were all on Smoke Bomb Hill back then. The 7th group was on Smoke Bomb Hill too. In fact, no, yeah. So anyway, that's the Fort Bragg, North Carolina, where they have all the groups there. And so anyway, I took off and went to Vietnam, and I was just a happy camper. So when I got there, I just said, I want to go to Da Nang. And then I met this guy, the sergeant major, says, well, I'll see what I can do to get you up there. And so I'm talking to some other guys downtown. I met this Indian guy from India. And I knew him from Da Nang from when I was there for 22 months. I knew a lot of people in the city and everything. So he goes ahead, he goes, oh, Da Nang's no fun anymore. He says, it's not that good of a place anymore. Because I don't mind going in and having heavy battles and fighting and all that stuff. But when you come back, you want to be able to kick back and relax and have a good time,
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. So what I did is I went down, I was in the bar at this it was a combat orientation course where everybody goes through before they go out to wherever they're going. So I'm sitting in there. This guy comes walking in. He goes, hey, I'm going home. Somebody buy me a beer, kind of thing. I bought him a beer. We're sitting there. And he says, yeah, I just left A502, man. It's the best duty station you can find. I'm going, really? And so he talked to me about it for a while. I went down to headquarters, met this guy named Mike Micah, sergeant. I said, hey, Sergeant Micah, I want to go to A502. He looks at me and he goes, if anybody's going to A502, I'm going to A502. I said, well, I heard there's an opening. And he goes, well, good. I'll look into it. So anyway, about a day later, Mike Micah comes walking into this little bar. I'm sitting there at the bar because nothing else to do. I already finished training. So anyway, he comes walking into the bar and he goes, hey, Jones, guess what? I go, what? He says, we're both going to A502. So him and I both went to A502, which is the largest A team in the world. It had around 52, 53 people on this A team, because if you ever look up A teams, it's 12-man team, two officers, two commo, you got two commo, two medics, two weapons, two engineers, and demolitions, and then two operations intelligence. And so, but this team had a whole bunch of people, and what they came directly under headquarters. They were the security for Nha Trang. And they had all these outposts with these civilian regular defense group, the CIDG guys. So they had one American on all these little outposts all over the place. And that was the case. They got hit some, the enemy would try to open the camp or hit the camp, the American could talk to the pilots and call in air support. That was the main reason for that. And I was way over on the other side of the mountains. I had the farthest away camp and outposts. And I went down there for a couple of weeks, and the guy that was on the outpost, he was getting ready he got a commission and he was leaving. So I went up to the headquarters with him, to the main camp. And I said, I'd like to take over that camp. And our CEO, Major McBride, he was a major too, by the way. Most A teams had captains. He goes, you haven't been here long enough. I go, what do you mean? I've been here over 2 years. So he goes, no, you haven't. I go, yeah, I was stationed here for 2 years with him, 22 months with the Navy. I says, come on, I speak the language. I'm good. And Bill Hefferman was the other guy that was there leaving, got the commission. He tells me, he goes, I think you'll do okay. He got along great with everybody down there. And so I got along great with the LLDB, the Luc Lam Dak Viet, which is the Vietnamese Special Forces. I got along good with him. And I got along good with everybody else, all the guys on the team, because I could speak to them. They're all Vietnamese, right? I could speak to them and stuff. We got along great. So I stayed there, and then from there, they turned over to Regional Popular Forces. We call them the Rough Puffs. And so from there, I went to CCC.
Wow. Holy smoke. All right. So in CCC, you guys had quite a few missions where you would go in, and really it was all to get intel on stuff that was going on, right?
Yeah, we're recon, and recon is just going in and gathering information. Every once in a while, you get a point mission where you want to go in and, like a Brightlight mission is a point mission. You're going to go in there and try to get the pilots out, get a body out. You're going to go in there to support the guys because they lost men on their team in the battle. So you go right into the battle and you just take over and start shooting with the guys, that kind of stuff.
So we're going to get into that a little bit. So the first question that I have to ask is, out of the rescue side of your career in the military, do you remember your very first rescue?
With pararescue or
just in generto, like the first time that you was like, oh yeah.
Boy, I have to be honest. I can't remember my very first rescue. I mean, I've saved lives. I've lost guys too. I remember one time I was talking with a guy, and he got up, he walked outside, and he caught a bullet in his nose, came out the back of his head.
Oh my gosh.
I just got done talking to him, and I'm out there and I'm trying to keep his heart going. And his chest just turned white. It was blanched because I'm pushing all the blood out of the heart, but nothing was coming back. And I didn't know he got hit in the back of the head at the time. In fact, I didn't see anything. I thought he got shot in the body because the bullet went right in the nose, right here in the hole.
Oh my gosh.
Really bizarre. And so finally, I'm trying to keep him going, and finally the helicopter comes in with the doctor. He comes over and he goes in and he's checking him out like you're supposed to, like PJs do, because this is when I was in the Army. And so he's checking him out, and he goes behind his head and he goes, he's dead. Like that. And the back of his head his hair was covering everything, but the back of his head was blown out where the bullet came out.
Oh my God.
I didn't see it at the time. And so it was that. I've had, I had to take guys out that got shot, shot in the legs, stuff like that. You call in choppers, you get them out of there, those kind of things. You bandage them up, you take care of them, you just call in. Most of them it's at night too. You get the chopper will come in. We had a big area where they can get it. And in Vietnam, you can secure an area pretty easy. So they'll come in and get the guys out. I've done that. A few bodies taken out.
So let me tweak this a little bit, because you guys had what's known as a Brightlight mission, and that was when your fellow
specialized.
Okay, and your fellow brothers are out in the field, on the mission, and they call for Brightlight, so that sends you guys in to go rescue. It's a rescue team, rescue mission to go get them out.
Yeah. Now, see, when I was stationed at Kontum, Vietnam, that's where CCC was. I was Command and Control Central.
Yeah.
What we did is we sent a team up to Dak To, which is closer to the tri border, and they had a little compound there. It was a secure compound, and that's where the Brightlight team stayed. And they stayed there in case something happened. That way, it would be faster for them to get them in to Laos, Cambodia to get whoever's in
Nice.
trouble.
So you're pre-stage ready to rock.
Yeah, you're already ready to go. You got your pack. All you do is they just grab your pack, jump on the chopper, and go. And on those kind of missions, yeah, the Brightlight mission, my first Brightlight was where I went in, and what happened is the guys got a hit with about, I don't know, about 350 enemy or something like that, 450 enemy. They got hit with a pretty heavy force. One guy I think was hit and they saw him being towed away. The enemy grabbed him, and we never heard from him again. There was a body there. So what happened is they were coming out on ropes. When they were coming out on ropes, one of the ropes broke. They don't know if it got hit by a bullet or what happened, but the guy fell to his death. And it was probably a couple of 100 meters from where it happened, where it was, probably maybe 500 meters where it happened. And so they called us up. We went in and they told me the situation. I said, I've got to rappel in and I'm going to come out on ropes. We call them strings. I'm going to come out on strings. So I don't have time for 2 helicopters. All I want is 1 helicopter. I'll take 2 other guys with me. And so I took the team leader. It wasn't even my team. It was at RT Illinois. And I took that team up there, and because Steve Keever was the 1-0, he was on leave. And all of a sudden he comes bebopping up to Docto. When comes in with the helicopter is supposed to take us out. He's in the helicopter. And I'm going, Steve, what are you doing here? He goes, I heard you guys are up here. I thought I'd come up and say hello. And I said, well, we're going on a mission. You want to go? And you can just see the wheels turning in his head, like, I just got back from 30 days leave. Now I'm going to go die,
Oh my gosh.
And so I enhanced that by telling him, I'm just taking 2 other guys and myself. He goes, what? I said, what's the situation? I said, it's a body. We got to go get the body out. And there's like 350 enemy or 450 enemy. They're coming out after him. And he goes, I said, do you want to take the team? He goes, no, you take it. I go, okay. So I took him, and his assistant team leader came as the 1-2 or 1-3. Yeah, the 1-2. And so we fly in, we rappel down. We couldn't even get the chopper on the ground. We couldn't even get close to the ground. It's treetop level.
Yeah.
The chopper, the ropes, 120-foot ropes wouldn't reach the ground.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so the chopper's starting to mow down some of the trees because there's no way we're going to get back up, right? So it gets down. Finally, we get on the ground, we unhook, and this Cobra gunship flies overhead, and he goes, "Hey, Carrot, follow me." So I see him, and I follow him, and I go up this hill, and I can see the rope hanging in a tree. So I go over there, and we dig the guy up. We hook him up. They have him come over. They drop the ropes again. We hooked him up, hooked the other guys up. They hooked me up, and we come up. We can hear the enemy coming out. They're yelling and screaming and running through the jungle trying to get to us. And so you can, as soon as we got up about maybe 30 feet up, 40 feet up, we can see through the trees, and we can see the enemy coming. And what they're doing is they're shooting at the helicopter, trying to bring the helicopter down. So the helicopter is taking all these hits, and it's coming up and up and up and up. And so it starts taking off once we get clear of the trees, or they'll drag you through the trees. So we're coming up and we're flying out, and these bullets, you can hear the bullets going whizzing by, and then you can feel all the brass coming down from the gunners on the helicopter shooting down. The brass is coming down on us and stuff. And so he gets up and he gets, I don't know, maybe about 500-600 feet out, 500-600 feet in the air, maybe something like that. And this A1E Sky Raider comes right down underneath me. It's 50 feet underneath my feet. And this pilot just goes like that, like that, just waves to me.
So
and I'm holding on to the dead guy. Yeah, and I'm just holding on to the dead guy, and I'm going, hey, yeah, like that. And he's firing flechettes down in there, shooting there, keeping everybody down. But we got out of there. None of us got hurt, nothing. We got out of there and came on back, and it was great.
Oh my
and the guy,
God,
yeah, the guy I picked up was the brother-in-law of one of the guys on my team, Archie Delaware. He was one of the brother-in-laws. He came up and he said, "Thanks for getting my brother-in-law out of there. Bringing it back for his sister." And he gave me a yard bracelet and everything like that. So that was kind of a sad moment because Yul was a really good guy, or Yu was his name. He's a really good guy.
Damn, man. So I've never been in any situation ever like that. That is insane. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you're not supposed to be in those situations. You're a Coast Guard.
True. Yeah. True statement.
Yeah,
true statement.
But now I think the Coast Guard now has helicopters that are refuelable, don't they?
Kind of. I say kind of because you can do like a hypher. They send the hose up and they connect it on the inside of the helicopter. Just you know.
Oh,
But
really?
yeah,
That's
but
interesting.
nothing like you guys have as far as Army or Navy.
Yeah, they
where
got
they
that
have
big
that.
snorkel.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We don't have that. But
Yeah.
but, well, it's Brightlight number one. What?
Okay, and then my
How many
second,
did you do?
3. Bright lights are
Oh,
really, I mean, I had 7, or some people tell me I had more missions than that, but I don't know. But I think I only had like 7 or 8 missions. But the like Dan Sturr was my team leader when I was on the one when I became 1-0, the team leader for RT Delaware. Dan well, I went when Dan, I don't know why Dan, I don't know if he took the team or whatever it was, but it was only him. He needed men on the team. So when I went to CCC, they put me on RT Delaware. So I went over and introduced myself to Dan Sturr. Dan's a great guy, really great guy. And so he made me his assistant team leader. And because I already had like 37 missions when I was on the A team. I had a lot of missions. In fact, that's where I went on one camp that was overrun to try and get the enemy out of there. On my camp, they tried to overrun my camp. I turned them away. But so anyway, so I had a lot of time under my belt, calling in airstrikes, calling in everything. I used to call in big guns from Nha Trang, and they'd fire 8-inch guns over too, and so 105s wouldn't make it, but the 8 inches would make it. But when I got to CNC, so I ran out on the Dan told me, he says, we got a mission. We had another guy too, Gary Harned came out with us too, and anyway, we went on a mission, and we were supposed to be put in here and work our way through a regiment and a battalion to try and gather information, what they got, what kind of weapons, if they got artillery, stuff like that.
okay.
And what happened is they put us down between them because those old French maps were all screwed up that they had for Laos, Cambodia. I think
They
this
put
was
you
Laos.
in between 2 regiments.
A regiment and a battalion. They put us between them, and they tried to capture us. Yeah, they tried to capture us. They came after us with dogs, everything else. And we ran our butt off trying to break contact. We ran our butt off for like 3 days. And then the 4th day, they finally decided to get us out of there. But when we came back, we got the Dak To. Dan just says, I think this is going to be my last mission. I don't want to do this no more. This is just too rough. And so, but Dan had a lot of missions, highly decorated. He had, I think, 5 Bronze Stars for Valor. I don't know what all his other medals, but I mean, he was really quite a guy. And so anyway, Dan quit, and so I'm walking across the compound, and the first sergeant comes over to me. I think it was Downey, Sergeant Downey, I think his name was. And he comes over to me and he goes, Jim, how'd you like to take RT Delaware? I go, where you might take him? I mean, be the team leader. I was only ran 1 mission. And he goes, well, we think you're ready. I'm going, really? So I said, well, I'll give it a shot. What the heck, I mean, there was guys in CNC that never became 1-0s, never became team leaders. They might have had 10, 13 missions, never became team leaders.
Wow.
They didn't want the responsibility. It's scary to be a team leader on those missions. Because I remember I was flying out and I'm sitting there and I'm looking at my men and they're all looking, they've all got this look on their face, because when you're going in on these missions, that's the most scariest time, is going in and coming out, because all it takes is a rocket propelled grenade, an RPG, and B-40 round, blow the thing right out of the sky. And so then I talked to Tilt about it, and he, like I told him, I says, when I'm going on those missions, I'm saying I got these lives in my hand. I'm sitting there going, something happens to them, it's on me, like that kind of thing. I can't make any mistakes. But Tilt said, we all felt the same way. They all felt the same way going in. Like, what am I doing here? But somebody's got to step up to the plate, right?
Yeah.
So I went ahead and went on those missions, but going in and coming out on those missions is the scariest part. I mean, we've had teams. I remember one time I was in the field and I can still hear it now, just I can hear the code name for the mission. Schoolhouse, do you read me? Schoolhouse, do you read me? And the whole team was coming out in a helicopter and thing just blew up in the air right there, and
Oh
a whole
my
team was killed. In fact, the guy that
God.
was on the Gary Harnett, who was on the team with me on that. We went between the regiment and the battalion. Gary
Yep.
Harnett was on when Dan left. I had to look for another 1-1 assistant team leader, but Gary Harnett left. He went on RT Pennsylvania, and Schoolhouse on that mission. RT Pennsylvania was the helicopter. He was killed. The whole team was wiped out on that mission. So, but that was Gary's second mission. He was killed. The whole team got wiped out, and which is kind of sad. But but yeah, so let me see. After that mission, I think I had a couple of road watch missions where you go in on the road and you count the trucks going by, you watch the enemy go by, that kind of thing. You try to find out, try to see if they got any patches, what kind of weapons they're using, if they're SKSs, AKs, RPDs, things like that. You try to see what's inside the trucks, if there's people, weapons, food, supplies, and things of that nature. How many trucks go down the road, the Ho Chi Minh Trail? How many trucks are going down? How far between the trucks? You do all that, and you're right there on the trail just watching them go by. And it's better if you got a full moon. You try to plan it so you got time where you can actually see a little bit better.
Yeah.
So, and then they govern their arc light strikes accordingly.
Yeah.
So, arc light is a B-52 bomber. They have 3 of them go overhead, and they all drop, I think it's 108 bombs apiece. So, and they do it like 3 times a night. So it's like over 900 bombs on the one area a night. So then the next thing you know, they're sending somebody in for a BDA, bomb damage assessment. And they go in there and you see all these people walking around with bloody noses, junk. They're all wiped out. It's kind of tragic, but you see people hanging in trees, it's really bad. But I've only been on one BDA, but it wasn't on the Ho Chi Minh Trail. I went in for a BDA on a heavy artillery strike, and the enemy does all kinds of weird stuff. They'll put baby bottles, diapers, they'll put stuff in women's bras. They put it all over the place, and to try and work on it psychologically. Man, we just killed a bunch of women and children. Oh no, they do that psychologically, but there's no women and children. They might have some women because the enemy is running out of men. They were using kids to fight. In fact,
Dang.
I was in an ambush one time where we picked up a guy. He got shot in the femur, and he had a broken leg, and the enemy just left him there. He said, "Leave him there. We can't move with a guy like that." And he was terrified. He thought we were going to cook him and eat him. He really did. That's what the enemy tells their people. Yeah, exactly. I was shocked. I go, that's ridiculous. I'm not going to eat you. You're too tough, dude. You might be 14 years old, but yeah, I'm not going to eat you. Don't worry. A little tender, juicy morsel. I took care of this guy. I had him taken down to, I think on one of the other podcasts, I said took him down to Pleiku, but no, that's south of Pleiku. No, where was that? Yeah, Pleiku. I didn't take him there. What I did is I took him to Cameron Bay. So I had the guys take him. We took him on down to Cameron Bay, and I went back about a week later to see how he was doing, and his leg was gone. And I'm going, what happened? He goes, oh, gangrene set in. We had to remove his leg. I'm going, damn, man. I talking to the guy, says, man, I'm sorry about that, because this guy's full of intelligence, right? Yeah. He knows who he was with, what their mission was, and everything else. And so I went down another week later. I went down to see how he's doing, and his bed's empty. I go, what happened to him? Oh, he died. I'm going, what do you mean he died? Because all he did was get shot in the leg. And so this doctor hears me, and he comes over to me, goes, you know how many men I see dying here because of people like him? And I go, you effing asshole. I go, you know how many more are going to die because you just killed our intelligence? And him and I were getting good in a fist fight. And there's some nurses.
Gosh.
Yeah, the nurses came over and broke us up. And I just looked at him, and I said, he was a 14-year-old kid. I said, you can live with that, like that. And I just walked out. I mean, because, in Vietnam, these guys don't want to fight the war. That kid didn't know who I was. He didn't hate me. It's the government telling him to go do all that stuff, and if you don't, I'm going to kill your family, kind of like in the sandbox,
Yeah.
Cut your daughter's head off and roll it down, or, come back out and fight, or your wife's head will be rolling down next, kind
Yeah.
of thing. It's just horrible stuff. War's horrible. It's really horrible. But anyway, after that MC, I had uh I don't know. Let's see, we were talking about rescues. I had the other Brightlight. Well, let me see. I should get in some of the other missions. I've had some other missions where you just do like a linear recon, just going through an area just to try and find out who's there. And this is in Laos and Cambodia. And you go through, and every once in a while you bump into the enemy, but you stay hidden. And one time I remember sitting down, we took a break, and I was strap hanging on the team. And so we took a break.
What does that mean? I don't know what
A strap hanger is like where some of these teams end up losing a man on the previous mission.
Okay.
And so they have nobody to fill in for that spot. So
okay.
Yeah, so I'll go in with them and say, yeah, I'll go with you and we'll see what we can do. And they appreciate it because I was a team leader, right? So if anything happened to the team leader got killed, I could take over the team. So I went ahead and we're going in and we take this break. And I'm sitting in the break, and all of a sudden we hear movement. And I'm sitting down, and we were like 3-4 feet from a trail, a high-speed trail. We didn't even know it because the jungle's so dense you can't see.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I'm sitting there, and I see the guys walking, and I get down as low as I can so they don't see me. And I'm looking through the corner of my eye. I thought they were going to hear my heart beating, and they're just walking by. They just walked right on by us. And I wanted to get up and take one as a prisoner because there was only 3 of them. I wanted to take and Joe Van Diver was with us. He was the team leader. And Joe goes, no, let's just forget it. No, like that. And, hand signals and stuff. And after they left, and I said, we should have taken that guy as a prisoner. We could have taken the other 2 guys out, jump up there, take them and take the one guy as a prisoner. And he goes, yeah, but we don't know who's behind them. They could be a point element for a regiment for all we know. And so we didn't. We let them go. But that would have been cool. But that night, we got surrounded.
Cool. Dude, I love it.
But then that night, we're sitting there, and we thought we were getting surrounded by the enemy, and we didn't see anybody. I'm sitting there going, they're looking at me and I'm looking at them. We can't see each other because it's so pitch black in the triple canopy jungles. And so we got up early in the morning. We started oozing out of the area, trying to get away, hoping they'd be asleep, and had no problems at all. I don't think there was anybody there. I think they just walked right on by or something. But about a few hours later during the day, all these apes came out. All these apes are up in these trees around me. So we think they might've been apes, just coming around us. The apes are dangerous. We had a team got attacked by apes.
Really?
Yeah, we had another team that got attacked by pigs. Wild pigs.
Oh my gosh!
One guy got his chest ripped out. The tusks on the pig got underneath his rib cage and ripped his rib cage out. He lived.
Oh man!
Yeah. That had to hurt.
Yeah.
That's a little bit more than a sucking chest wound. I don't know how you take care of that.
Yeah.
Hey, dude, here's the bandages. Fix yourself, will you? Just fix yourself. I don't want to look at it.
Can we push those ribs back in? I mean, seriously.
Yeah. Hold your hand there, and I'll just strap you up. I'll just. What do they say?
Oh
like the plastic off a cigarette pack and put it on a sucking chest wound?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no. Yeah, they got out of there. And he lived, but he went back to States. He had a pretty nasty looking scar, I guess. But yeah, then let me see some other missions. Let me see, we hit the road watch missions. We hit on the trails, the linear missions. I had one time where I remember we going down the road and we count the trucks and we go back up on the hill. And so the enemy is up, and they're walking up and down the Ho Chi Minh Trail, these signal men. And I remember sitting here one time, and all of a sudden I hear the Vietnamese talking. I couldn't understand what they were saying. It was too far away, but they're yelling at each other. And I heard these other people yelling. The next thing you know, they're shooting each other. I'm going, what the heck? They're shooting each other. I guess each side thought that they were the bad guys, and like us. Because, dressed like the enemy a lot of times. You know, our guys would go out there, especially the point man, they dressed like the enemy, the helmet, the AKs, the clothing and everything. They look just like the enemy. And that kind of gives you a second chance. Like when you're walking through and the point man sees the enemy, he might wave or something like that, might give you a break. And they might just wave back and keep walking. And then, you know, if they start coming towards you, then you're in trouble. You know, like, hey, Joe, you got a smoke? You know, something like,
Yeah.
then you're in trouble. You know,
Oh my
so you got
goodness.
no choice, but you're in a firefight. So, and then let me see. I don't know if you want me to talk about Cobra 84, that big rescue thing. That was a nasty mission.
You talk about
So
whatever
on
you
the Cobra
want. I'm
84,
on board. This is a good ride for me. I'm in.
yeah, the Cobra 84 is those two jets, two F4s, and this had two pilots in it too. It didn't have a back. It had two pilots, and their job on a bridge on the Ho Chi Minh Trail. And so they're coming down, and the bombs were long. And so when he came back down again, the other jet made a pass, missed it. This other guy, Cobra 4, came down, and he got hit with a 51 caliber, lost his hydraulics, and just lost the hydraulics and hit the first hill, hit the first hill, went across the second hill, wiped everything out on the top of this hill, and landed on the third hill. And so the PJs tried to go in, but it was just too heavily armed with enemy, just way too many enemy for the PJs to even try. So they went ahead and sent my team in. So I had Archie Delaware then. We went up there. My assistant team leader name was Homer Hungerford. He was an older guy, and a lot of the guys didn't want to run with him, you know, because because of his age. But he had a wealth of knowledge. He was in the Second World War, the Korean War, and in Vietnam. He had 7.5 years of combat.
Wow.
You know, and he stayed in Vietnam until the war was over. Yeah, this guy was like your Ernest Hemingway. I mean, this guy owned a hotel in Hawaii, and he gave half the hotel to a gal that was helping him. He said, "You take my share of the money and put it in the bank, and I'll give you half my hotel." And he had like 90-foot sailboats, everything. He on his 30 days leave, he went to Africa for a safari hunt. You know, that he's just like Ernest Hemingway. Looked like him too. Never touched an ounce of alcohol in Vietnam. But when he came back to the States, he was in San Francisco, and I went up to San Francisco to see him. I walk in his room, and he's naked on the bed. And he's got this beautiful French, beautiful blonde French woman giving him a massage, and there's all these champagne bottles all over the place. You know, it's,
Oh my
he was
gosh.
Homer is a character. He passed away in 2014, but he was an old timer. But just what a great guy! I just loved Homer. But anyway, so Homer and he was my assistant team leader. So we go on this mission, and we're flying over because we don't even know where this mission is. All we know is there's a jet crash. We want you to go and get the remains out, the bodies. So I'm flying in, and next thing you know, I'm sitting down and I'm looking at the Ho Chi Minh Trail, and all of a sudden I see this bridge, and I see this burned out area, and I'm going, oh shit, I'm in trouble. So then I come over on the first hill, and where the soot is, you know, I climb down a short ladder. A short ladder is where the ladder comes down. You might have a 20-foot ladder,
Yeah.
but you're only using like 6 feet of it. And the
Okay.
rest is just around. So we did that, and I wait for the Homer to come in with his half of the team, and we wait for everything to get quiet, and then we start moving down and start looking for remains or anything, you know. So we're coming down. All of a sudden, I get down to the first little groove here in that saddle, the first little groove. So we landed here. We walked down for here. Right here, I'm looking over it. I see 3 enemies standing there. 2 of them are behind a bush. Yeah, 2 are behind a bush. One has got his AK on me, and I told my guys, they're Montagnards, you know, they don't speak Vietnamese, but they understand a few things. And I said, "Kom song, like that to my guys, loud enough for the enemy to hear." And I took my gun, I just went like that to the enemy,
Like,
and they just took
away.
off.
Like, get out of
Yeah,
here.
go, D
Yeah.
now, go quickly, get out of here. So they left, and so I'm walking
Wow.
down a little bit further, and I start seeing bunkers. And then I look over and I see a graveyard with a communist star over the top. And we go in the graveyard, try to get the names. We couldn't read. There's like somebody wrote with pencil on the rock. She couldn't read anything. But you could say, I think there was only like 7 or 8 graves or something like that. When DPA went back in there, they found 13 graves. So people must have been buried on top of each other.
Yeah.
And so then we started up. When I started going up towards the hill, I noticed a big room, 20 by 20 foot room out of bamboo. And so when I started going up the hill, we found a boot with a foot in it. Started finding pieces of the jet. Get up to the top of the hill, and I noticed all these patterns on the ground of hooches and stuff. And just before I get to that patterns on those hooches, all of a sudden I hear movement on the road, on the Hochman Trail. And all of a sudden miniguns are going off like crazy. The A1E Sky Raiders and Cobra gunships, they're firing their miniguns and rockets and everything else right over my head. Just right. I mean, if I was afraid to put my hand up, I'd get hit, just right over my head. And I said, what's going on? Because I'm sitting there thinking, my shot, I'm going, because when bullets break the sound barrier over your head, you don't know where they're coming from, because it cracks right over your head.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've ever heard it sounds like it goes,
no.
You get this, and then you crack right over your head, and it's like 6,000 rounds a minute or whatever it is, So it's crazy, and you don't know where it's coming from, so all of a sudden I get on the horn and I go, hey, what's going on up there? To the forward air control guy is flying up in an O2. Yeah, he's flying in an O2 Sky Raider up there, a Skymaster. And anyway, so he says, you just had 6 truckloads of enemy, 2 armored cars and a bunch of troops running behind it, and they're scattering and they're all running up the hill coming to get you. And I'm going, dang, they figured there was an estimated about 350 enemy. And that's not counting the ones coming behind me and the hills coming behind me. So and we get up there, and I had Homer go through one area, look through the village. It was a village. And so I'm running through the other half of the village, and we're looking. And then the guys overhead said, look, we got to get you out of there. We're running out of ammo. We're running out of time, because it was getting dark. He says, you got a storm coming in. So if we don't get you out now, we're going to have to come back tomorrow and get you. And I'm sitting there going, no, I'm going to have thousands of enemy on top of me. I don't want to deal with this. So
oh my gosh.
I look across the way and I could see the jet laying there. And there was a bomb laying there too, where these hooches were. They got wiped out by the jet going through. And this whole village was woven over with bamboo, by the way, all woven over, except for where the jet went through and wiped it out. So anyway, so I said, okay, get us out. So we're sitting there, waiting for the enemy to come through the bushes. And all of a sudden the first chopper comes in and picks up Homer with 3 guys and gets them, or two guys. See, that's right. 3, 4, 5. Yeah. He takes 2 guys out with him. And so they got out of there, and they're taking hits on the way out because of the guys on the ground shooting up the helicopter. But so when the chopper comes in, right before he gets in next to me, I told him, I said, I want Cobra gunships on both sides of that chopper, and I want them to just shoot as crazy as they can into these bushes to keep the enemy down. So then the guys are starting to come through the bushes, and we're starting to shoot at them and stuff. And one of them gets an RPG off, and it hits next, a few feet away from me over here. But I got hit in the arm. I got hit in the chest. Bizarre too. This one here, at first, I didn't know I got hit. I thought, I had cuts on me and stuff. I thought I got cut going through the bushes. But a few days later, this one festered on my arm and it came out. And I go, oh, piece of shrapnel, like that. Then this one here, I had a blister here on my chest. And inside the blister, there was a piece of shrapnel inside the blister. Really bizarre. And then I got hit in the wrist right here. And this piece is still in there. I didn't know that was in there. I thought maybe I did get a cut on a piece of wood, but I was, you went on a speedboat and you're on a raft and they make that turn and you go whipping around. Well, I went whipping around and stuff. My wrist hit the water and I damaged my wrist. So I took x-rays and I'm looking at my wrist and I'm going, oh, no shit. I got a piece of shrapnel in my wrist. And that's when I found out I had the shrapnel. I didn't know.
Oh my gosh, Jim.
That was yours. That was in my residency when I was in my residency. I took off some students and went water skiing, Lake of the Ozarks. But anyway, getting back to that mission. So we're shooting these guys, trying to keep them down. We're keeping them down. None of us got injured except from that RPG. And then the chopper's taking a ton of hits. The gunner's shooting like crazy, but he's not watching the helicopter. And I hear this bam, bam as I'm getting on the ladder and trying to hook in. So I'm hooking on, and then I think he took an RPG, and I was waiting for the chopper to come down on top of us. But then the chopper just keeps going up and up and up, and they're still shooting, and we got out of there. So we got out of there, and I unhooked and climbed up the ladder, got in, and I told the pilot, look down. And he looks down, and I said, you see the squares on the ground? He goes, yeah. I said, it's a friggin' enemy village. And but I jet, and I backed I sailed on. And so 47 to 50 missions or something like that. But so anyways, when I came back to the States, I went ahead and I'll get to that later. I'll get back to later.
Okay.
So after that mission, they asked me if I wanted to go teach. So I said, sure, I'll go teach. And so I went on down to Longtan, which is B-53 Special Operations Base. And that's where they teach 1-0s, team leaders and stuff. So I went down there, and I taught infill, exfil, and prisoner snatch missions, because I took like 15 prisoners when I was on the A team.
Wow.
I took a lot of prisoners. Yeah, I took prisoners when I was there. I'd take them in little groups, 3 here. I think one time I took 5. And when I was a B-53, I took 3 prisoners too. On a POW snatch training, guys had to take prisoners. And so we went out and with it was our team Mombat, a CCN. And so what I did is I went ahead and we set it up, and the next morning we went out and we took 3 prisoners. They were coming. What happened was in the Australians, their area of operation, and the Australians were doing on a mission, and they were walking down like a road, which a lot of people do in Vietnam. They were walking down this road, and all of a sudden they got hit by the enemy, and they all ran off the road into this field, and the field was loaded with mines, and 36 people were either killed or wounded from the Australian group.
Oh man.
Yeah, so they asked us if we can go in there and take a prisoner and find out where they're making these mines. So we were in there, and we found this ox cart coming up, and it was an NVA with 2 Viet Cong and a bunch of kids, like 2 or 3 little kids with them. And they do that to throw it off, like it's mom and grandpa and their children, and they're just carrying like woodcutters or something. On that mission, we destroyed everything that was in the ox cart, and just the influence. And they were bringing metal and everything up to make mines. So we took the 3 prisoners with us, and then a couple of choppers overhead told us, "Hey, move back. We're going to shoot him up." And I told him, I said, "You shoot him up, I'm going to make you come down here and look at it." And so this CNC ship, different than like command and control, like where I was. It's a command and control ship that flies overhead, kind of watching what's going on in Vietnam. They picked up the radio, and they said, "What's going on?" And I said, "These guys want to shoot up this cart with these kids." I said, "They're just kids. I'm not going to let them do it." And they told the choppers to get out of there. So we told the kids, just take your oxen and your cart and go back home. So they did, and then we took the prisoners with us, and we talked to them a bit, interrogate them and stuff like that. Then we turned them over to the Australians, and they'll interrogate them and find out what's going on. And usually what they do in Vietnam is you turn back over to the district chief in that area, and then the district chief will say something like, "We'll let you go if you don't hit our village." So they let him go, and then that's just the politics in Vietnam during the war.
Oh
So
my gosh.
I ran into that when I was on the A team too. So,
Oh my
but I
gosh.
got film of that. I got movie film of that. I got movie film of a lot of stuff I did in Vietnam, except for on the actual missions. But in B-53, I took a lot of footage, a lot of cameras. Guys coming out on strings, coming out on ladders, calling in airstrikes and all that kind of stuff in Vietnam. I did a lot of filming there. So, so from there, I was supposed to go home. I missed my flight coming home from Vietnam 2 times, and on the 3rd time, it was on that POW snatch mission for the Aussies. I'm walking out with my gear, and the first sergeant, name was Real ResQ. Real ResQ was an interesting man. He had his master jump wings. he had little bronze stars all over his wings. He made every possible jump you could make during the Korean and Second World War.
Wow.
So sometimes they had two jumps going at the same time, but he
Okay.
made every one you could possibly make. Yeah. And he was a great guy. He made a free fall with me in Longtown too. So yeah,
I
I
love it.
went through free fall there at Longtan, and I made 3 free falls there. I got my Vietnamese halo wings, which are actually called master parachutist instructor wings. You have to make 3 free falls to get them. They're gold Vietnamese wings with little loops on the bottom.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
I made a whole bunch of static line jumps. All were there except for Dog Batin. I made a couple there, 2 or 3 or something. But so from there, I came back home. And then I joined the 12th Special Forces Reserves, and I was underwater operations. They sent the whole team down to Key West for scuba school. So we went down there, did all that, came back, and it was kind of boring. I mean, we did, military diving is not fun. It's I remember we were diving in the Sacramento River because they had an Army base there, as Army ships.
Okay.
And I'm pulling this cable off the back end of the screw of a ship. It got wound up in the props, and I'm down there and I'm looking up like this, because I'm in 4 feet of silt at the bottom where the screws are. It's only like 6 feet off the bottom or that, And so I'm looking up, and all I see is these worms crawling on my face mask, and I'm
Oh
going,
gosh.
oh, I just know they're in the corner of my mouth because so you just go back to it. I got the cable off and I got back up,
Just spit them all out.
Either that or wash them down, one or the other.
Yeah.
But,
A little extra protein in the diet never hurt anybody.
yeah, protein. But yeah, we did those kind of things. We did some work with the Coast Guard too, diving. They let us work with them. We used to put little limpet mines on their ships. We had to go in and dump us out. Like you jump in out in the middle of nowhere and come back in, swim in at night, and you're feeling and you look at little limpet mines. Either that or we're putting the mines on the ships, and the guys are on the ship trying to catch us. Stuff like that.
Nice. Wow.
Yeah, that was in Monterey. We used to do that.
Oh, Monterey Bay. Nice.
Yeah. They had a Coast Guard station there. I think they had a lung there too, and we had to take one guy. Well, we were going to take one guy there for a lung. He got the bends coming back up, and so what we did is we just took him back down again. We just grabbed him and just took him back down and brought him back up slowly, and that he was okay. We just kept an eye on him for a while. Yeah, but did that kind of stuff, and then let me see. One day, when I was in the reserves like that, I was a police officer in San Jose, California, and I didn't like police work. They linked me up with a guy that was he saved an officer's life, and he could do no wrong, and he kept pumping me for information about how many people I've killed and all this stuff. And I told him, I said, I don't know. I said, I don't talk about that stuff. He goes, well, I want you to talk to me about it. And because I don't think you did, and blah, blah, blah. And I couldn't talk about SOG. We had a thing. We couldn't talk about special ops for over 20 years.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I just got fed up with him, and I went ahead and just said, I just took my badge off, threw it down. It says after my first year certificate, post certificate, I just said, I'm out of here. I don't want to be no more. I drove the friggin' paddy wagon for a year.
Wow.
And I hated that friggin' thing. There's no AC in it. And you get these winos in there and they get vomit. And every time you come to a stoplight, the vomit comes forward. We had blocks on the floor. We put our feet. We put our feet on blocks. Yeah, just keep it so we get it on our shoes. Yeah. Then when you bring it at the end of your shift, you bring it up on a hill and you take a fire hose and hose it out, to get it cleaned.
It's terrible.
Just leave the doors open, It sucked. So I left there. And then when I left the PD, my wife left me. And so I got a divorce. It was pretty much my fault. It wasn't her. She was a good gal. And we had 2 kids, and I got 3 grandkids. And so I left there, and one day we were teaching the Air Force night vision devices and submachine guns. So I go ahead and I go out downtown. We did it up in Truckee, California, by Lake Tahoe, north of Lake Tahoe.
Okay.
And I'm talking to the guys. I said, "Who are you guys? What do you guys do?" And they told me. And this one guy named Bob Herman, he goes, "Well, come on down. We'll give you a tour. We'll show you around." I go down to this PJ place. This back then. This was at Hayward, before they moved to Moffett Naval Air Station. That's really, but I'm there at Hayward. I walk in, and I'm going, "Are you shitting me?" All this beautiful scuba gear, aerator tanks, and I'm sitting there going, all these parachutes and rigs and all this stuff, climbing gear up the Yang, and I'm going, wow. And so anyway, so I go in and I talk to, his name was Al Richmond. He was in charge of the PJ section, and I go, I'm thinking about maybe being a PJ.
After walking in and just seeing the stuff, like, yes, please.
Yeah. I mean, this is the cat's meow. They were doing missions, like they were doing hoist missions back then, hoist missions and stuff like that, and doing rescues in the mountains, plane crashes and stuff. And I'm going, man, I said, how often do you guys do this stuff? He goes, about every week. We jump every week. We go rock climbing, we go scuba diving, we do all this stuff. And I'm going, really, man. And so I go back to my team, and I tell my old team sergeant, Jimmy Gaston, and I go, Jimmy, says, I'm gonna leave the team, go be a PJ. And he goes, you're gonna what? I says, I'm gonna be a PJ. And he goes, you can't do that. I go, yeah, I'm not obligated. He goes, you're family, you can't leave, like this. So let me show you something. And he's got my orders, right? He's got my orders for E8 right there. And I'm looking at it, I'm going,
no way.
I go, Jimmy, I says, I don't care about rank. I don't care about money. I says, I just want to have some adventure. We're not doing anything. I mean, we just got back from going to Panama. We went down to Panama and did some stuff with the guerrillas down there. But, that was about it, We went to Okinawa and did some, rough terrain parachuting and stuff like that, and did some diving when we were in Oki. But, we weren't doing anything that was exciting and fun. So I went on, he tore my orders up. I left. I went down, talked to Al Richmond. I said, okay, I'm in. Because he showed me a letter where the PJs needed more combat training, to how to fight in combat.
Okay.
And so Al said, that's your ticket in right there. So I went ahead and went over there, and I was jumping with him and doing everything with the PJs. And then he said, you still got to go to school. They put me through that little thing. They got running through a little course to see if you can even make it to school.
Yeah.
And that was a piece of cake for me. So I went ahead and I went down to school, and I'm doing okay in the school and stuff, the climbing phase. I mean, they knew I was already a climber and everything. And I didn't have to go to Lackland. Lackland is where Superman U, where they all build you up. They do that so you don't scuba school or jump school or anything else. Well, I was already qualified and all that stuff. So they just sent me to Kirkland and put me in charge of the group. Yeah. Put me in charge.
Great.
And so some of them kind of resented me, because they resented the fact that I didn't have to go to Lackland. And I told them, I says, well, I tell you what, you didn't have to go to SOG either.
Yeah.
I said, and you're here and you don't have, 3 years, 4 months in combat either, So anyway, so we got along pretty good. And then one day I'm running with the guys, we're running over, and it was in the wintertime, and the guys didn't have their jackets. They didn't have their jackets to go with their blues, the undress blues kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I asked them what you got, and all they had, 4 guys, all they had was their flight jackets. And so I'm going, oh, I can see the writing on the wall. I'm going, go get your flight jackets, put them on. I said, I don't want you getting sick or anything. It's below 0, Yeah. So I separated the group. I had all my group here, and then I had a space, and I had these 4 guys back here running with the group, and they had their flight jackets on. So we're running over them. We have to run every place, when you're at Kirkland. So we run over there, and we get in front of the building, and the cadre come out, and they go up to the guy and they go, "What are you doing wearing your flight jacket with your blues?" "Oh, Sergeant Jones said it was okay, sir." I'm going, what?
Way to throw you right under the bus. Booze.
Yeah, right under there. I go, why couldn't you say something like, "Oh, was that wrong? Was I not supposed to do that, Sarge?" I mean, I didn't know.
Cold, Sarge. I don't know.
Yeah. So they come over to me and say, "We want to talk to you in the office." And they let everybody go into the room to go training. And we were doing the medical training there. And so I go in the office and they go, "Drop 1,500 push-ups."
Oh my God.
1,500. It took me a day and a half to knock out 1,500 push-ups.
Oh, good Lord.
I mean, because your arms are dead. You got to take breaks. Your arms just don't work, And so I did like 500 in the morning. I went to lunch, came back, did the other 500, went home, and I'm talking to these guys. And then the next day I go, did 500 in the morning. I go into the room and all the guys are looking at me and I'm going, "Really? Really?" We're all good friends still. We're still good friends.
Oh,
and that
hilarious.
Was Chuck Blakesley, by the way. That was Chuck Blakesley. And Chucky's a good guy. We're still good buddies. We're good friends on Facebook, and we bump into each other every year or every other year, at the reunion. So, yeah. So from there, I went to, I went over to, the 129th. They bumped me too. I made the scuba jumps, the parascuba jumps.
Okay.
And so I jump out of that 130 and I get in the water and the cadre's in a boat, and they're coming over and they go, "You hit the door." I said, "No, I didn't." I said, "You hit the door." I says, "I've got over 100 jumps out of that bird. I didn't hit the door." And he goes, "Well, we got to recycle you." I'm going, "What?" And later on, I found out they were doing what's called an Air Force Now film. It's a film where they try to encourage young people to get into pararescue or into other fields in the Air Force and to stay in the Air Force. So they were doing it, and they didn't want some old fart like me up there with all these ribbons on here, giving a talk. So they bumped me for the film, and my assistant team leader, he got up there and once I saw that, I put it all together. They still deny it to this day. They still deny it, but I know that's what Vargas did. I know that he was the chief Vargas did back then. And even Wooford won't even admit to it, because I had one with Wooford too. I'll tell you a story about Wooford. It's really kind of funny. And so anyway, yeah, I had to wait for the next class to go through. I went down, made the scuba jumps. I jumped out of this. How far can you jump out of a C-130 with 130 pounds of equipment sitting on you? I mean, you got scuba tanks on, all this rafts and all kinds of junk on you. You can't jump out that thing. I had this thing where I'd
fall.
I just put my elbow on my side and put my hand on the door, and I just went out like that. I just went at an angle,
like opening a door. You're the door. Whoop, out.
Yeah. So anyway, so I get down in the water and they go, "Boy, you missed that door by 10 feet. I go, "You're all full of shit." I said, "I jumped it the way I always do." I said, "If you're worried about people hitting the door, tailgate them. Just jump out the tailgate. I mean, that's a better jump anyway, But then you got guys that whimper getting on. PJs aren't going to whimper going out the tailgate, but I've seen people get scared going out the tailgate, and they hit their butt on the ramp. You ever seen that?
Geez.
Yeah, they hit their butt on because they don't take a good jump out the tail end, and it's easy enough. All you got to do is just take a step out.
Yeah.
But if you got tanks on and you come down, and hit that sucker, who knows what's happened to you? I don't know. But I'll tell you a story about Steve Wooford when he was cadre. He ended up being in charge of the 129th when I was in. Right when I left, he came down. Because everybody wanted to be a double dipper.
I don't know what that is. Wait, I don't know what a double dipper is.
I was a GS9. I was a GS9 because the 129th is the National Guard.
Okay, yeah.
the National Guard group. But when you're on an aircraft, you're gonna get active duty pay. You have to have active duty pay to be on.
As
You have to be
well
on
as GS9.
to get on. Yeah, to get on the airplane. And
Smart.
I averaged around 350 days a year active duty on aircraft and everything when I was with the National Guard. Plus, I got my GS9 pay, and both of them are around 20,000 a year.
Well done.
So I was making like 40 grand a year. So, and all my what do you call that? What do you call that when you go TDY?
Oh
You
yeah,
get
your
hotel.
yeah,
They give you
deployment money, your per diem, and all that jazz.
Yeah, per diem. Yeah, you get that money for food and all this other stuff. You know, that kind of stuff.
Gosh.
So anyway, we were getting ready to go do our scuba jumps, and I'm pushing these, getting these guys in. I'm helping them load all the parachutes and stuff like this. And so Woodford calls me over. He goes, Jones, what are you doing loading the parachutes? He goes, you're in charge. I want you to take what do they call it? Yeah, I want you to take I can't think of the word. Anyway, take charge of the men, make sure they do everything right. I don't want to see you lifting parachute stuff. So give me 50 push-ups. So I knock him 50. I go back. I help him load the scuba tanks and the parachutes and stuff. And he's looking at me. Get back over here. So I go over there and I goes, drop and give me 100 push-ups. So I knock out 50 and another 50 and I get up. He goes, I want you to go over there and I don't want to see you working. I want you to make sure they're doing everything correctly. And so I totally get it, Sergeant. And he says, okay. So I drop me again. I go over and I help him load the parachutes and all the scuba tanks. And he goes, Sergeant Jones, do you see these stripes? I says, yes, Sergeant. He goes, I got those stripes learning how to delegate authority. That's the word I was looking for. Delegate authority.
Nice. Yeah.
And I looked at Steve Woodford and I go, Sergeant Woodford, you see these stripes? I says, you know how I got these stripes? For being a fucking war hero. And Chuck Hassler's standing right there with him. And Chuck Hassler is drinking this cup of coffee and he goes all over Woodford. And Woodford's going, he goes, get your ass out of here. I go back and help parachutes. True story.
Oh my gosh. I love it.
So, yeah, that's a true story. It was so funny. And so, but then that might have had part of what to do with when they bumped me. I don't know, But anyway, Woodford and I are good friends now. In fact, we're still friends on Facebook and everything.
Love it.
Yeah, so it was good. They were good bunch of guys. So let me see what happened. Oh, so I went back to the 129th and I had some missions there. And I did a couple of a few hoist missions, I guess.
Like what?
One was on a ship where all the merchant Marines they were all young. They were like in their 30s and 40s. And they had this one old guy. He had to be in the 60s or something. And he didn't really fit in. And he would take a lot of medications and stuff for whatever he had. And he started drinking and he lost his balance, fell and hit his head. And so they sent us out there and we got him and we got a Stokes litter, put him in there, did everything to him, got him taken care of and got him up into the chopper. One of the things on the chopper, you probably know this, is that when you're coming down on a ship and you got that helicopter overhead, that helicopter is picking up all kinds of static electricity flying out there on the rotor.
It is.
Yes. and when you're about 6-7 feet off that deck, you jump off that penetrator, that seat. You just jump off that sucker. And if not, I had it happen to me one time where I wasn't fast enough and it arced. It arced from that chopper flew. Let me see. No, that was on one of the other hoist missions. So, it arced from my foot down to the metal deck. And boy, you can feel it in your teeth, man. It's a rude awakening.
So here's something that's kind of funny though, is that so you just mentioned the jungle penetrator. I don't think I've ever actually used it. Like I know what it is, and I've sat on it, I've hung on it in a hangar, but I've never used it in aircraft because all the gear and equipment that we use now Yeah, no, that the jungle
You got the
penetrator is
baskets
not.
and stuff.
We got baskets, we got harnesses,
Yeah,
we've got AVEDs,
yeah.
we've got other harnesses, like victim stuff. It's amazing. Like this, the gear and equipment out there now is insane, awesome. So for the
And
jungle
a lot of those,
penetrator,
yeah,
no,
the jungle penetrators is, people get scared when you're riding up with somebody. They get scared, and if they put their finger on that where it catches on top,
yeah,
that thing rotates. It'll take your finger off. Your finger gets stuck in there. So that was that's one thing you got. When I'm taking people up on that thing, I'm watching their hands. Get your hand away from there.
yeah.
Get away from there.
Don't touch that. Don't touch
Yeah, you're gonna cry like a little girl if you get your fingers in there.
So out of curiosity, when you would go out and do some of your hoist missions and stuff, some of the vessels that were out there, were you going down on the jungle penetrator?
Yeah, yeah, we went
No
down
shit.
on the penetrator. Yeah, that's why you get that arc. Because once it arcs, then there's no more stacked electricity unless he's sitting there for a while.
And then when you get hoisted back out, you're back on a jungle penetrator to go back out.
Sometimes, I don't think I've been up on the jungle penetrator to go back up, but usually what I do is I put the patient in a Stokes litter.
Yeah.
Then we put a rope on the Stokes litter to keep it from spinning, and we're on the deck holding the rope, and while he's going up, and then they unhook the rope and drop it down, or they'll just pull the rope up. Then they'll drop the penetrator down, and we'll get on that and go back up.
Yeah. Okay.
I was on a penetrator one time. We were practicing at night out in the water, and out in the water at night, out in the ocean, you got those waves and everything. And when a chopper, we had lights on our. I don't know if you guys have lights on yours shining down for night.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Light it up.
Yeah, they light it all up. But when you're in that chopper and you're looking down the water, you can't tell which way you're moving because that water pattern from the rotor wash is pushing down, and it moves wherever you go. And so one of the problems they have is they get what do they call that when they lose control?
Helicopter vertigo.
Yeah, vertigo. Yeah, they get vertigo. Yeah. So what they do at night is they'll drop out flares out in the water. And they keep their eye on those flares. Very once in a while, a wave will come up and bury the flare, and it'll bury it. And so a guy named Bill Thompson and I, we were doing it. We jumped in, did the low and slow thing. We get out, jump in there, and then they'd fly around. They come back again. They put the penetrator down, and Bill and I are getting on the penetrator together, and we're coming back up, and we're almost to the top of the helicopter, and to the where the wheels are. All of a sudden, the chopper just dropped. Boom. Went right down in the water on top of us.
Oh my God.
So we got off that penetrator, and we're swimming as far as we can underwater to keep away from that rotor in case he's still in the water. So then we get out there, we get far enough, like 40 feet away, and we're looking, and we see the helicopter, and he's because the H-3s can float.
Right.
I don't know if the 53s can or not. I think they can. I don't know.
Yeah.
That I don't know.
Oh yeah, they totally can. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So the H-3s were he'd go up and come around, come back around, come back and pick us up again. And the next time he picked us up, man, he picked us up one at a time and just slammed me in the bottom of that helicopter, trying to get us up as fast as they could. I'm going, oh my you're not trying to drown me, you're trying to knock me out. So we finally got in there. That was the end of training at night on penetrators. They said, no, we're not going to do that anymore. No more training, live training. They'd have to pretend, So, but yeah, that had a lot of good times in pararescue. I love para. I wanted to stay in, but we were making a jump up in the mountains, and I hit really hard. I had some injuries from Vietnam that I didn't even know. But I went ahead and I had a hard time running after that. I came down really hard. It was a high altitude. It was the ground was frozen. It was snow and ice. And so they went ahead, and I remember Dick Grady, who was my climbing buddy in pararescue. Dick goes, look, if you don't go to the doctor, we're going to carry you there. Because I used to run around the airstrip every morning. Moffett Field's a 5-mile run. Okay. Did it every morning. And so then I went over to the doctor, and the doc comes out, he takes some x-rays, and he goes, you ever hurt yourself before? And I go, no, I'm fine. I'm good. And I looked at him, I said, why? He goes, you got a bunch of old fractures. I go, where? He goes, you fractured T7, L5, your pelvis looks like it's been sprung open. And I'm going,
Oh
oh,
my good Lord.
I go, I got I got thrown out of a helicopter in Vietnam one time about 25, 30 feet. And I had neuropraxia. I had no feeling from the waist down for like almost an hour. And it was on a mission. And I was afraid to sneak in to, because when I was on, this is when I was on the SOG, and I was going to 1-0 school. And then, but the guy killed, we had a guy killed when I was on the A team, where the enemy shot at him, and they got hung up in an ambush by the enemy, and he hit the deck and he crawled over to where everybody ran to, and he stuck his head up, and one of the Vietnamese shot the American, shot him 6 times. He thought he was a bad guy trying to sneak in, and so I always had that on my head. And if you ever read Doug Frank Miller, the Medal of Honor recipient, it's called Reflections of a Warrior. He put that story in there. The story's not true, by the way he put it, but he said nobody. Yeah, he says nobody would identify the body. They had to pull me out of the field to go down and identify the body. I'm going, bull crap. I said I was there. It happened just not too far from me. I said you weren't even there. I said you went back to the base. So, but anyway, Frank passed away. But Frank was a good guy. He was your Rambo. You see these, Sylvester Stallone and Rambo. Yeah. Frank Miller was the Rambo. That guy. I mean, if you were in trouble, you want him to get you out of there. Either him or Bob Howard. Bob Howard's the most decorated guy like ever. I mean, that guy, he was put in for the Medal of Honor 3 times, had Silver Stars, DSCs. I don't know how many. Cow. I think he had 5 bronze or 4 or 5 bronze stars. I think he had 8 Purple Hearts. He's wounded over 100 times.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, he got hung up for the machine gun, but if you get shot like 10 times by a machine gun, that's only 1 Purple Heart. It's not 10. Just like that time I got wounded 3 times. That's only 1 Purple Heart. That's not a bunch.
1. 3. Listen to you. Good Lord.
And if you're on a mission and you're out there for 3 or 4 days and you get wounded each day, it's still only 1 Purple Heart. Like the guys on the Tailwind mission. I mean, they got wounded like every second day. They got wounded. Still 1. But anyway, Frank Miller was really quite the guy, and a lot of people don't know it. But his Medal of Honor, he was put in for a Silver Star, and it got upgraded to the Medal of Honor.
Oh shit! Wow.
Yeah. Frank Miller was really quite the soldier. He was a good soldier, but he liked contact. He liked getting in contact. He liked kicking butt when he was out in the field, and it made it a little rough when you're trying to gather intelligence and not get caught.
Yeah, he's laying down
intelligence hell. I said, I'll take the intelligence off their dead bodies. They're old dead bodies. Oh
my God.
Frank, I remember one time we were on the A team, and we're sitting there, and we had a guy, what was his name? Sonny, it was Sonny Liston. No, that's a boxer. His name was Sonny. But anyway, I can't remember his last name. Anyway, he was sitting there looking at this battle going up on the hill, and somebody said, "Hey, get on the horn." So he turned sideways to grab the radio, and the bullet went in there, out there, in there, and out there.
Like in one side of the pack, outside of the other pack, in the other pack, out of the other pack.
Yes.
Good Lord.
He had a cool scar, man. He could be the man called horse, with that.
My God.
But if he didn't turn sideways, it would have hit him right there, So, but anyway, that pissed Frank Miller off when he found out he got hit. Frank went up there, and the enemy was in a cave. Frank went in that friggin' cave, just started shooting in the cave. He grabbed the light that was in there. Was some lights in there, but he grabbed some other lights when he got in further, and he started shooting, and they were starting to throw grenades and all kinds of stuff at Frank. And he's shooting an M79, and he wiped everybody out inside the cave, wiped them all out. And he comes out, he's covered with blood, covered with blood, and full of shrapnel from the grenades and junk. And he goes, I got all those bastards. Frank was just that kind of a guy. He was just that kind of guy.
Oh
How
my
many enemies
God.
you got there? He says, how many enemy do you think you got down there? He goes, well, I have no idea. How many enemy do you see down here? I says, there's about 500. Oh, is that all? I'll go get him. So he'll go after him. He was just, Frank Miller was really quite a guy. He was really quite a guy. And I served with him on an 18 end-to-end in special ops. Yeah, because
man.
Yeah, he came in the A502 with two other guys. One was Carlson and the other one was Chuck Hines. And Chuck had a Willie Pete grenade go off. Somebody dropped it, and when it hit the concrete, it split, and it was sizzling. And Chuck picked it up and turned around to get rid of it, and it went off, and it burned him really, really bad. He ended up dying from it.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
Yeah, they took him down to the Playco Hospital, and my buddies and I, two of the other guys and myself, we went down to visit him, see how he was doing. And he was just so swollen. His back was he was so swollen. They had to make slices in his skin for the expansion.
Yeah.
And his head is so swollen. And all he kept saying is, water, water. He wanted water, and they couldn't give him any water because his kidneys were failing. And they put a wet gauze in his mouth. And then he just succumbed right there. He died while we were there. Really kind of tragic, really sad. Chucky was a really nice guy, super nice guy. I don't think he had any business in SOG. He was just too nice of a person to be there. But
wow.
Yeah, but they gave him a soldier's medal, and stuff which to me, I think a soldier's medal is really high up there. I look at that as the Medal of Honor.
Wow, really? Yeah.
Soldiers, those medals are like they're like a peacetime Medal of Honor.
No kidding.
Yeah, I mean, because you have to really do something good in order to get those. And one of the last SAR missions I went, SAR reunions, special operations reunions I went to, they had a guy there that he got two of them. They gave him two. They got lost when he moved and stuff, and they finally got it to him. He got two of them, two soldiers' medals. I'm going, damn, that's impressive,
What did you do?
Yeah. Oh, come on, don't be greedy. Give me one.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I have a lot of respect for guys that have the Airman's Medal, not the Air Medal, but the Airman's Medal, the Soldier's Medal. And I don't know what does the Coast Guard have? They have the Airman's Medal?
They do have a Coast Guardsman. I have to look it up, actually. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they are.
Yeah, I don't know. I can look it up later, but let me divert real quick. But let me come back, because after you got qualified and everything with PJ stuff, you actually had quite a few rescues in the PJ being deployed. And I remember hearing one of them that you talked about free falling and parachuting into huge waves, into like 30-foot waves.
Oh, yeah.
And
that was
wait, because it's exciting for me. And the reason I'm going to say it's exciting for me is because I've been in 30-foot waves. So I can relate to you, which most people have no freaking clue as to how really big a 30-foot wave is. So
yeah,
you have a much different perspective than I do, but that's just one of them. Now, before we get into that one, do you remember like your first rescue as a PJ?
Well, it would be the hoist mission. The guy that
yeah, you did mention that.
I can't remember if that was the first one or second one or third one. I can't remember. But I know we did a lot of rescues out in the ocean to way out there. I mean, there was a Philippine ship that caught fire and sank.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, we were way out there. We had to get special permission to go towards Vietnam, and we ended up rescuing some. Well, we didn't, but we got people to get in there and get them. Boat people coming out of Vietnam. We thought it might have been the Filipinos, but it was boat people leaving Vietnam, and so we dropped supplies to them, and then an Australian ship came over, picked them up, and took them to some country where they'd be safe.
Nice.
Yeah, and I think that's where I got the name Hawkeye. And there was another
picking people out of the water. Oh, there he is.
Picking it up, and because we found him at night. I found him at night.
Oh,
And
wow.
another one, I had one off the coast, and the Coast Guard was in this one. There was one off the coast, and they were getting ready to crash. The boat was on its side, and I caught the little light on top of the mast. The light come up out of the water like that. It would just come up out of the water, and
Just a little bit.
yeah, just a little
Wow.
bit, and I caught it, and so we flew back around, and we got them, and we pinpointed them, and they were on the side of the ship. They were standing on the side. It was a shrimp, salmon fishing boat, and they were standing on the side of it. And so we called the Coast Guard. And the Coast Guard only had enough fuel for one pass, so they came on in. We brought them in. They got right over them and brought them all up in there and got them all inside and saved their lives. They were getting ready to crash into some rocks.
Holy smoke.
Yeah, they were real close to crashing. You know, they would have never made it. I mean, it was really nasty seas. But I made John Stevens and I made the very first parachute mission, jump mission for the Moffett for 129th. It's called something else now. I think it's either the 29th Rescue Squadron or 30th Rescue Squadron. I'm not sure. It's called something different. And now they got officers in charge. So back then we had an E8 in charge. It was Al Richmond. But on that mission, we got a call, and they asked me if I wanted to go because there's a National Guard base. Not everybody's there, right? It's just us guys that are working there. So Johnny and I took off. We get out there, and it was 32-foot seas, and I mean those waves are like this. You know, people you see those really rough seas. The ships are going like this and rolling. Like that's pretty much what it is.
Yeah, big arcs, big ups, big downs.
Yeah. And the ship tries to control some of it by like at a 45-degree angle into the waves. So he's trying to get to where he can go like this instead of like this or like this, you know. And so
getting totally wrong.
So we fly over and we parachute in, and as we come in, I remember looking up at the top of the wave, and I'm not in the water yet, and I'm going, oh man. So finally get in the water, I cut the parachute loose, and then you got to swim. I had to wait for the crest of the wave. And so I got on the top of the crest, and I'm looking for the dinghy, and hopefully it's on a crest of the wave too, because if it's in the valley, you're not going to see it. You know, so finally I had to swim over to it. I get a hold of the boat, wait for the boat to come up, and the boat's like on its side coming up like this. And finally I grab the side of the thing, and when he comes up to the top, I can see all the way underneath the dinghy. I can see all the way underneath it. Then all of a sudden the boat goes down, and I just rolled and fell into it. You know, then they couldn't get the dinghy running. The engine died on it. And all these there was like 3 merchant marines in there too with us, and they're getting sick, and the wind is blowing so hard that they're vomiting, and it's getting all over us. You know, and I'm going, this has got to be the worst mission ever. So then we finally got the boat going. Johnny was already in the boat because they picked him up before the engine died, and so then we get over by the ship, and you know and that ship has a door on the side of the ship, and they got a ladder that drops out of there. And so what you got to do is wait for the biggest wave alongside that ship to grab that ladder, you know, and I got it. I got up there first. I grabbed the ladder, and all of a sudden that boat's gone. It's gone. That dinghy just drops, right? So I climbed up and I crawled inside there, and I'm vomiting. You know, don't ever eat donuts on the way out on a mission like that. Man, we had no idea the sea state was that bad. But man, I'm puking my guts out. I can just see those. They were Taiwanese. And I think you see them sitting there doing, they came to help us. Who's going to help them? You know? So Johnny finally makes it up. Johnny gets on the ladder, didn't get a big enough wave. The boat came back up again on a bigger wave, hit him, knocked him off, and he fell into the boat. He did that twice before he finally got up and climbed inside. So by then I'm up and standing up and just feeling horrible. Johnny's doing the same thing. He's puking his guts out. So we get up there and we get the guy. The guy had a ruptured appendix, and he was blown up like a balloon. He was a 21-year-old kid, Taiwan kid, but he had a ruptured appendix, and so we had to get him out of there. You can't just ride the ship to Hawaii or someplace, you know.
Yeah.
So we got him and put him in a Stokes litter. Got him up into the helicopter because the helicopters are refueled. This was over 1,000 miles out in sea. So
Oh
the
my
helicopter,
God. Whoa. Time out. You went 1,000 miles out to sea,
yeah,
refueling on the way out?
yeah, they,
Oh, what? Holy
yeah,
shit.
yeah. The C-130, we were in the C-130 because two C-130s and two H-3s. So what
Oh,
they did,
wait. I got back up a little bit. I got back. So you guys get called out. It's 1,000 meter or 1,000 miles
yeah,
offshore. You
yeah, in
take
the
a
middle of the Pacific.
C-130 out,
Yeah,
jump out in 30-foot waves to get on a little dinghy to then get on the big boat.
yeah,
You got helicopters that are following you out that are refueling on the way to you.
yeah. With the other C-130, they're refueling them all the way out. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Um. So anyway, they come out. We got the guy, and we got him in a sleeping bag, and we got earmuffs and a hood over him and goggles on him, and we get him up and we get him into the helicopter, and now we have to refuel no more than 100 feet off the water, off those tips of those crests, because he's got a ruptured appendix. He's blown up like a balloon,
Yeah.
and I was getting ready to cut his underwear off him. He wanted me to cut his stomach, but there was no way I can do like a thoracentesis. I couldn't put a needle in there to get the air out because his gut's allowed to be pushed up against that, and I could puncture his gut. So we just low leveled. We got the Coos Bay, Oregon. It was like the closest point was like 950 or 975 miles. So we got the Coos Bay, Oregon. All the camera crews out there, the news people and everything, because they got wind of us coming in. So we got there, and it was night. It was nighttime by then. So we got him. We had to refuel 3 times to get there. We go ahead. The ambulance comes, takes him. Yeah, they take him to the hospital and stuff. And so we're sitting there, like this,
Flexing. Which way to the beach?
for
The
the
rescue
cameras.
was that way.
Yeah, you know, I want to get a video of that from those news people. It's got to be in their archives somewhere up in Coos Bay, Oregon. I want to get a copy of it for my kids. So anyway, yeah, that was the rest of that mission. That was a pretty good mission. And then let me see, what was that? That was yeah, then we flew down. Yeah, we flew. Yeah, we stayed with the helicopter. That's right. On that one, we stayed with the helicopters, and we just flew on back down to Moffett.
Oh my gosh.
Didn't take that long for us to get down there. I can't remember how long it was. I know we didn't stop anywhere. We just went straight on down. But then we had another.
What? Hold on. I got to recap this for a second. Not only are you jumping out of a perfectly good C-130, which is freaking badass, by the way,
Yeah,
to then turn around and fly backwards back to land, refueling 3 times 100 foot off the water because you can't come up in altitude due to the pressure inside of his gut. That is crazy.
right.
That is crazy. Awesome is what that is. I love it.
What we could have done, just gone up in altitude, let him blow up really big, and then just put a little funnel in him, and then just push him out the door, and he could have flown like a little jet. He could have flown all. He could have flown all the way to Coos Bay.
Deflating a balloon.
Yeah. So anyway, but that was a pretty good mission. That was the very first jump mission for the 129th.
Wow.
And then I think there was another one. We had another one come up, and it was pretty nice seas. It was nice weather. The seas were it was another one. It was 1,000 miles out, but it was the water was pretty calm. It was like beautiful weather, and I didn't want to jump in my scuba tanks. Which you're supposed to, but people get killed jumping with scuba gear out of a plane. I lost a very good friend in the North Sea that jumped out. Mark, it's been so many years, I can't remember his last name. Anyway, he jumped out, and the riser caught his neck, broke his neck. And when they saw him coming down the water, he just hung there, but those scuba tanks are horrible, and he had one of those necks like Charles Bronson. Mahoney. No, it wasn't Mahoney. Anyway, yeah, so we're flying out there, and I was John Stevens was in charge of that last mission. On this one, I was in charge of the mission, and Andy Hale and I flew out there, and it was a bowel obstruction and inguinal hernia and a bowel obstruction, kind of go hand in hand, I guess. but he couldn't take any fluids or anything down. We tried putting an NG tube and flushing his stomach out, pumping everything out of his stomach, get the bile out. He wouldn't tolerate it. And we were afraid he was going to aspirate. And, when he vomited the bile out, it would end up getting in his lungs or something, because bile can be pretty damaging. So anyway, we parachuted in on that one. And being the kind of guy I am, which I shouldn't say the things I do, but I do. Anyway, so I'm flying out there, and our CEO, Colonel Aguar was the commander of the 129th at the time, and he was flying the airplane, the C-130 out. So we're flying out there, and I'm getting ready in the door and stuff, and the loadmaster, he didn't catch Andy's line. His static line went under his tank, and he didn't catch it. So anyway, I checked him, everything was cool, but then I got in the door to jump, and then his line went underneath it because the loadmaster didn't pull it back. And so we jumped out, and I noticed Andy was way out there and all these twists in his lines and stuff. And so I turned around and went towards Andy and get down in the water to find out. And then some guys were taking pictures, and we saw what happened. You could see the static line go under his tank, and it flipped him over and messed him up and caused twists in his lines. But Andy was okay. So we got down there, and the boat came over, picked us up, and but I didn't want to jump with the scuba tanks on that mission, and wish that twist wouldn't have happened if we weren't wearing the tanks. So Colonel Aguilar comes back and he's watching, and he looks at me and he goes, Jones, aren't you supposed to be jumping with scuba tanks? I go, oh, it's beautiful out there. I said, it's a beautiful sea state. We'll be fine. He goes, well, if you're supposed to be jumping with scuba tanks. And I looked at him and I go, sir, I don't tell you how to fly this airplane. Don't you tell me how to jump out of it. This is the commander of the base, And so him and I were good friends, because I taught him how to scuba dive when we were in Hawaii one time. And then I turned around and looked at him. I said, furthermore, I can fly your airplane. So we go ahead, we jump in, we put the tanks on, we jump in, we get down there, we take care of the guy, and we got the guy pretty settled, because we were talking to doctors on the way and stuff. So we got him all in good shape. And so we stayed on the ship and went all the way to Hawaii with him. So then when we got to Hawaii, they took him off the ship and sent him in, to the dock. I got a nice letter from the doctor. He said it was the first time he's ever worked with pararescue, and he was amazed on how this guy was all prepped and ready to go for surgery and everything. They just ran him right straight into the surgery, but we gave him all kinds of stuff and took care of him, and he wouldn't tolerate the NG tube, so we couldn't do the get that bile out and stuff, but we just worked with him on it, and gave him IV injection for for food, DTW, help give him some strength. But anyway, so that was a pretty good mission. That was a pretty easy mission. And then on the way back, we were we landed in the Big Island of Hawaii. That's where it was a CNH sugar ship that brings the sugar from Hawaii to California.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it brings to the Carquinez Bridge. So I got another story for the Carquinez Bridge, but anyway, so we stayed. The skipper of the ship, Bill McCullough was his name. He went ahead and took us into town. We partied with a bunch of Hawaiians and stuff on the Big Island. It was a lot of fun. And then we went back to, I guess, Hickam or wherever it was we went, and we caught a general's jet back, one of those little hot rod jets.
Yeah.
And let us jump. We jumped in that puppy, and they flew us back to California. And we called up the base, and they said, just rent a car, and we're having a party. Come to the party. So it was a Christmas party. So we went ahead and go to the Christmas party, and I see Colonel Aguilar there, and I go up to him and I go, sir, I owe you an apology. He goes, what for? He goes, I said, I kind of chewed your ass out on the C-130. Oh, don't worry about it. Grab a drink. Let's have a drink. So, that's just the way it was back then. It was just so cool, And yeah, I remember one time they were going to do some jumps and drop bundles into the bay, over by Carquinez Bridge. So we go in there and we put our boat in the water, and we're out there and we're waiting for the boat party. Well, and that weather got really nasty and the guys couldn't jump. So they dropped some loads, you know, the rope between the bundles and stuff. And we picked those up, got them in the boat, but we couldn't get out of the water because the tide went out. And we, you know, so it took forever, you know, because they took too long. We checked the tides and everything, but they took too long. So by the time our ramp was like over 100 yards away, you know, so we couldn't get out of the. So we went over to Carquinez Bridge, and there's this restaurant bar there, and we go in there, and we're like in our suits, and we're sopping wet, and because it was raining too, and so we go in there. And it says, we don't have any money. It says, can I use a credit card, and can we just charge a card? You go, sure. So we go over and we sit down at the bar, and we're drinking all kinds of drinks, and they gave us food, they gave all this stuff to us. Then we get ready to leave, they charge us like $15. And I'm going,
oh yes.
Yeah. So I gave him my credit card. I put like a $50 tip on there, you know. Yeah, that meant I said, we weren't expecting that. And that was Johnny Stevens and I again. So yeah, but that was a great time. We were there till like 2 a.m. or something, because we kept calling the harbor master to find out when's the tide coming back in, so we can get out of here. So we were there for hours, like 5-6 hours, you know. Yeah, it was crazy.
Oh my gosh.
They stayed open until 2 a.m. So
bonus.
Yeah, so it was kind of cool. Then we finally got back on the boat and took off, unloaded the boat out of the water, and we drove back to the base. So we had some great times at Pararescue, some great times. And we had
good.
Yeah, we had a couple of times like we jumped into the mountains up there, you know, and one time when I got hurt, and then there was let me see, a lot of times, sometimes we go up there. We used to go snow skiing a lot, you know, because the government would pay you to go snow skiing, but you got to have some training too. So we would train for at least a couple of days, or maybe 2 or 3 hours a day, and then we just skied the rest of the day. And we got free lift tickets. This is up in Lake Tahoe. We got free lift tickets as long as we wore a medical bag on us, you know, in case somebody got hurt. We can go.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, and it was a good time. I remember one time we were up there, and I met this girl up there, and I can't remember who I was with. 2 other PJs. Bill Thompson was one, and Ray something was the other PJ. Anyway, so we're up there, and we're having a great time. And so we got an apartment, and the apartment we got wine, cheese, and everything. All you do is open the window in the apartment and just punch a hole in the snow and just put the wine and cheese and everything in the snow and just close the window. It's like your icebox, because they didn't have iceboxes in these little apartment rooms. No, not apartments, but motel rooms kind of thing. So then we go snow skiing. Anyway, so we met these girls. We met these girls, and we ended up spending the night with them. And I remember the next day they wanted us to take them up on the diamond slopes and go down. Jim Carrick was one of them, because Jim and I went up on the diamond slope with this one girl, and we're coming down, and we said, just lift your skis up off the floor, off the ground, and do not put your skis down. And he was on one side, I was on the other side, and we got her over our shoulders, right? And we're skiing together in tandem, going down the slope like this.
Just side to side, boom, boom, cutting back and forth.
Yeah, cutting back and forth and everything with her. Then when we get that, she's screaming, and we get down by the bottom there, and we just posted, okay, on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, and all the snow goes flying up, you know, and we let her on the ground, and she's whimpering on the ground, you know. It's so, anyway, she goes, I'm hurt. Oh, that's how it started. She said she hurt herself and she couldn't ski. We had to carry, that's how we got her down. And so I go into the bar to get a drink, you know, and by the fireplace, it's nice and warm. You can have a nice drink, and all the guys are sitting with some other women. And I'm going, hey, June says she hurt herself, and she's a dispensary. We brought her back down up the mountain. He goes, no, that's not June. He says, no, you didn't, like that. And I go, Yeah, we just brought her, Jim and I just brought her down. No, you didn't. I go, what are you talking about? He goes, this is June. I don't know who that was. That's the girl you spent the night with. Didn't even remember her
Oh my gosh.
name. So just another day being a PJ.
Love
Great.
it.
I love being a PJ. I was just brokenhearted when that doc took me. When I found out I had those fractures from the Vietnam War and stuff, he took me off jump status. Oh man, he took me off jump status, and I mean, I still jump, but he took me off jump status, and that was it. That like they wanted to put me behind a desk, and I go, no. I said, just give me a medical, and they gave me a medical. So I got my 20 years with a medical.
One of the other things that actually you mentioned in the Sawcast was you were part of the St. Helen right?
Oh
St.
yeah,
Helen?
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I totally forgot that. When Mount St. Helens blew, that was the group out of Oregon that was up there doing the rescues. But they were going around the clock, and they were running out of the guys were getting tired. So we went up there to help them out. So we got there the next day, and we flew in they have Hueys up there. So we were flying out over, looking for, bodies and people and stuff like that. But we never found anybody. In fact, I rigged stable rigs for that. The where you drop the ropes and you hook into a harness and they fly off with you.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, because the choppers couldn't get close to the ground. There's no way because of all that soot, the volcanic ash.
Yeah,
they couldn't get close. So I rigged them up, and the riggers over at the parachute loft made them up for us. They were better than the ones we had. They were nice.
Wow.
So we made 6 of those puppies. And
so when
so
you
we
went
had
in,
3.
so that blew, and you guys got called in to go in to do searches for people and stuff that could have been left.
Looking for remains or anybody alive.
Got it.
And one of the guys we were looking for the sheriff's brother. He was out there fishing or something, and they never found anything. It didn't find his station wagon or anything. There was a D8 Caterpillar, a B8 or a D10 Caterpillar out there. It flipped it end over end 6 times when that blast blew.
Holy cow.
One of the things that I thought was really amazing is they were drilling wells out there, and there was a well derrick standing up, and it was still standing. That just blew me away when I saw that. All those
still
trees,
standing after it got blown? Still standing after
when you're out there looking at all that where it's all gray and it's all ash.
Yeah.
All those trees were disintegrated. They weren't, when you see those trees laying down on the ground, they're only like 50 feet from where they were standing. Yeah, everything else was disintegrated. And if you look at those trees don't have branches, they don't have tops on them. The tops and branches were disintegrated. They just made go out there and scarf them up, make a log cabin with them. They're perfect. So, and I remember flying over, we go over the rivers, you saw, deer and elk and stuff laying in the water. I mean, mud flows coming down. I mean, the river was just full of trees washing down. I mean, it was amazing. I've got pictures. If you do a video vlog on this thing and you put it in there, if you go on my Facebook, you can take all those pictures. There's pictures of the St. Helens, and you can put them on there.
Sweet, thanks.
Any old picture, just put them on there. Anything you want.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and the other thing is I worked for the space shuttle. The first 3 landings.
Oh yeah, that's right. I knew this too.
Yeah, John Stevens and I worked with. We told Al Richmond that the space shuttle is going to need paramedics in case because it's a glider, right? And if it's short or long, it's got no choice. If he's too long, he can use air brakes and come on down, hopefully. But if he overshoots or undershoots, he's in trouble. They got to bail out. And STS 1, 2, and 3 had ejection seats in them.
And that was put in after the explosion.
No, they were put in. STS 1, 2, and 3 had ejection seats. There was only 2 people in it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you had Crippen and Young in the first one, and you had Engels and Truly was in the second one, and Lausma and Fullerton was in STS 3, the third one. After that, they brought a 3rd astronaut in there. And so when they brought the 3rd astronaut in, they disconnected the ejection seats.
Got it. It's kind of funny listening to you talk about it, because I've talked to Andrew quite a bit about it and what he was doing. They travel all over and do all sorts of stuff and preparing for the space shuttles and landing and whatnot.
Yeah.
So,
well, back on this one here, they were landing at the Edwards. STS-12 landed at Edwards. STS-3 landed at White Plains for some storm reason or something, but they landed. And I've talked to Lausmer a few times over it, because I couldn't remember which one it was that landed there. To me it was just a mission, but anyway, I've talked to Jack Lausmer quite a few times, and I've talked to Anna Fisher. I've talked to her a couple of times. She was the first mother in space, and I talked to Rhea Seddon quite a bit. She was the other astronaut that we worked with, and they're medical doctors. And Jim Bajan is a medical doctor. Actually, he became the flight surgeon for the group up in Oregon.
oh wow!
After he left,
no kidding.
after he left the astronaut program, he really liked PJs, and but I haven't seen Jim Bajan since. I haven't been able to get a hold. I'd love to get a hold of him and say, hey, guess what? I became a doctor.
That'd be good.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. Yeah, but Jim Bajan was really cool. He's really a super nice guy, and most of the guys hung out with him because he was a guy. The others were married. And Ray said married to Hoop Gibson. Hoop Gibson.
Hoop Gibson.
Yeah, Hoop Gibson. Yeah.
I know him, but I can't remember how I know him. I think it's more through social media and stuff, but I do know Hoop. So
yeah, he's really a super nice guy.
Yeah.
He signed a picture for me. He says, "Thanks for watching out for my wife." He signed a picture.
Oh, that's great.
I told him there's nothing to watch out for. She falls asleep at everything she goes to. and Hoot goes, "Yep, she still does it. I'll be talking to her and I'll look over and she's crashed out on the couch sleep."
Oh my gosh.
I tell you what, she's more beautiful now than she was when she was younger. She's such a beautiful woman.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I can't say I've ever met her. So
she's a cute little.
Yeah.
But she's a short gal. They're usually together when they go to like space fests and stuff.
Okay.
So and the picture I got is a picture of her holding Hoot up and the weightlessness, holding him up, in the vomit comment.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I like that.
She should have just held him up with one hand. That would
I can see that too. That's hilarious.
They're a cool bunch. So let me see, what else did I do in pararescue? But the PJs did a lot of things. I remember one time my boss Al Richmond said, "Hey, go up to Mount Lassen up there. There's a lake, Eleanor or something. Anyway, there's some lake up there, and there's a city there in the hospital, and they need to be learn about triage." And he says, "Why don't you go up there and just listen to them?" So I get in a Jeep and I get in the C-130. We put the Jeep in the 130. The guys fly us up there and we get down to the little airport, and he goes, he says, "We're not stopping. So we're just gonna open the ramp. You just drive right on out." So they drove right in front of the tower. I get in the Jeep and I just drove right out of the back end. I almost lost control of the Jeep, because it was like 3 feet off the deck.
Oh my good Lord.
And that was really a cool experience, just driving right out of the back end of the C-130, because they were still moving. They didn't even stop. They kept going. I just drove right out and they just kept going. So then I go up there and I'm sitting in the classroom, and one of the guys gets up and he goes, "Well, we've got Sergeant Jones right here. He's going to give us a class on triage." And I'm going, "What? I'm supposed to be giving a class on triage? They didn't tell me I was giving a class on triage." Because I don't have any notes or anything. So I had to do it off the top of my head, which I pulled it through. And I was telling him, you give these people, you can give them some Ancef, or not Ancef, but you can give them, what is the stuff for brain swelling? Anyway, I was telling him all these drugs you can give them and all this stuff. And this one nurse raises her hand. She goes, "We're not allowed to give drugs like that. We don't do injections." I'm going, what do you do? Now my mouth's getting really dry. My tongue is sticking to the roof of my mouth. And but I finally made it through. I covered everything. telling them, the categories like 1, 2, 3, and 4, if the guy's going to die, it's nothing you can do for him. He's like a 4th category. You want to get rid of the guys with flail chests and all these guys, take care of them first because they got life-threatening conditions that you can fix.
Yeah.
That kind. Managed to get through everything. Then we went out and actually did a triage. They had this crashed airplane with they used the high school kids, and they're all laying there.
Nice.
Yeah, they had all a bus turned over and all these people laying out on the ground, some with their legs, they got a hole in their legs in the ground, and it was like no leg, they're doing all that kind of stuff. But it was kind of fun. I mean, then we had a great party. A couple of the nurses took me on and said, "Hey, we're having a party and a big hot tub party tonight. Come on over." So we went to this big hot tub party on the lake, and I don't know, this nurse had a home, right in the lake, had this giant hot tub. We put like 15 people in it, and we're making daiquiris left and right because they're so easy to make, and we're just drinking up a storm. And so I called up my boss and I said, "Hey, I'll be back in a couple of days. I think I'm going to go up in the woods." So I took the Jeep and went up in the woods and visited one of my girlfriends and just hung out for a while.
Awesome.
It was a great time. We used to do a lot of rock climbing. I remember the guys used to come over from Germany.
Yeah,
they come over from Birdwalk, from Germany, the rescue guys over there. They come over and we do we'd take turns. We'd go over there in the wintertime and they would train us in there because they use cables on big wheels, the rescue guys on the side of cliffs.
Oh, okay. That's a little different than I'm used to. Yeah.
Yeah. They do that kind of stuff over there. And so we did a lot of rock climbing in Yosemite and that sort of thing. And Germans, man, I tell you what, thank goodness there was one that drank wine. All the others drank schnapps. I can't drink schnapps. I looked at him and said, "People that drink schnapps swallow their toothpaste in the morning." I can't. I said,
"Oh God."
So one guy, and the guy that I hung out with that drank wine, he was a hang glider guy. They had these fold-up hang gliders, and they backpack all the way up to the top of a mountain, and then put their hang glider together and hang glide back down again over in Germany.
Oh, that's cool.
That is real cool.
Sign me up. I'd get into that too. My wife would kill me, but that's all right.
Parapont.
Yeah.
Well, no, what parapont is? The paraglider. You bring a parachute up over your head and you just run off the cliff with it and sail around. Yeah. Its real name is parapont, but I think that's a European name. That's something I'd like to do. I've never done that. I'd like to do that.
That's the one with the bigger chute, right? It's a
bigger
over
chute.
the top of your head. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'd like to do that. That's big. My kids live up in Carson City, Nevada, and they have a lot of those guys that go off of Heavenly Valley.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they go up there and because the mountains just drop right down to the Carson Valley there.
Okay.
And man, they hang out there all day long, flying around the air in those things.
Yeah, they can probably catch a good updraft too to keep them up even longer.
Catch an updraft, keep going up.
Wow.
I used to fly gliders years ago. I was flying gliders. I never got my license in them, but I did. I got 7 hours training with them, and I did that.
Is there anything you haven't done? I mean, really?
Oh yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things I haven't done. I haven't set foot on the moon yet.
We're working on that. So we're still a work in progress. We got time. We got time.
When I die, hey Lord, can I go to the moon? Sure, go ahead.
Oh my gosh, Jim, I have had you for like a wicked long time. I will keep going. Whatever stories and rescues and anything you want to talk about, all for you, man.
I would have totally forgot about the space shuttle in St. Helens. I can't think of any others. I know I had one rescue one time where we were flying out. It was going to be a jump mission, and we were flying out a plane. A pilot was shuttling a what is that thing called? The little a tail dragger, twin beaver tail plane.
Okay. Yeah, a little smaller. Twin engine. Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, he was shuttling it, trying to get it to Hawaii, and he had bladders inside the airplane for fuel. And what happened is his back door opened up. It wasn't shut properly. And he was flying and the back door opened up and went down. It's causing a lot of drag on him. So he got up and he, he had autopilot, I guess, on it, but he got up and he walked back to shut the door. And when he did, the fuel cells that he had in there for extra fuel went back towards the tail. They shifted inside because his tail went down and he walked back there. And he couldn't get the door closed. The tanks, the gas bladders went back further. So all he could do is run up in the front. He got back in the seat and he's calling Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. So we got out there as fast as we could. And he had he told us what was going on and stuff. One of his engines finally burned out because he had to give it full power to stay up. And so he goes, I'm going in. So he was coming down and getting ready to land on the water with just the one engine. By the time we got to him, which was, we can hear him talking, he's talking to us. And by the time we got to him, we were only maybe 20 miles out at that, 20 miles out of that. And then all of a sudden, by the time we got there, all we saw was a slick on the water. And apparently he got knocked out and went down with the plane.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that kind of sucked.
Yeah.
That would have been a really cool jump mission. But man, I just felt bad for his family. I don't know anything about the guy or anything. It's just that when we flew there for a few hours looking around, because we can fly all the way around the world in those C-130s,
right.
Because they got big gas tanks inside for refueling.
Yep.
And we can just tap off of those. So, but we stayed. Oh, I had one time, a great mission. It was going to be another jump mission, and I'm going out there, and it turned the ship had an explosion down by the boiler room, and the ship caught fire.
How far
so
up?
How
far
I think that was only about maybe 600 miles out, maybe 400 miles out, something like that.
That's still crazy to me. I'm just saying. Flying. Like I go 200, 250, and I'm maxed. That's it. Gotta come back.
Well, choppers only have what, 3.5 hours usable fuel, right?
Yeah, ish. The Coast Guard one can go a little longer because they got 3 external tanks on the 60.
So, very cool.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we're flying out there, and the ship is there, and then all of a sudden, they get a call from drugs and alcohol division. ATF, alcohol, tobacco, fire. Yeah,
ATF.
Alcohol,
well done. Yeah,
I think it is. Yeah, they go after the drug runners, drug enforcement, or whoever those guys are. But they get a call from and saying, this ship is a drug runner ship. So we're flying out there, and some of the guys got burnt. And so they're in all these little boats, and there's all these bales in the water, big, huge bales are all in the water, and the ship is sinking. And so I said, well, let's go. He goes, no, they can hold you hostage. I says, I'm game for it. The guy's burnt. I'll take care. I'm not worried about them. He's got a gun. I'll take it away from him. So I'm not worried about it. But they said, no, you're not going to jump. The mission's been canceled. So I talked the pilots into staying there. And so we flew around a circle, and all these other boats came in along with ATF and those guys and the drug.
Yep.
They came in, they got 3 of the boats, but there was 6, 7 boats. So they grabbed a bunch of those bales and got those bales, and they took off, but they only had 3 custom boats out there, or whoever they were going out there. So they only got 3 of the boats or 2 of the boats. So the rest got away, but we stayed there, and I got to watch that ship sink. I'm sitting there watching that ship go down, and I'm sitting looking out the scanning window, and I see the little bow sticking up, and all of a sudden I'm sitting there looking, and I go, bloop, right down. That was a great mission. That was awesome to see that big old giant ship sink.
Oh, wow.
So,
you know what? My money was on you. And had you jumped in there, my money's on you. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Yeah.
Dang, man.
Yeah. Oh, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me, Mr. Badman. Don't hurt me. Let me show you who I really am. Because I come across as a real easygoing guy, happy-go-lucky. But boy, I can turn into a friggin' monster in a heartbeat.
Oh, gosh.
My buddy was with me because he thinks I'm one of these meek and mild kind of guys. And a deer got hit by a car. And he calls me up. So I grab my 57 pistol, beautiful pistol. I walk out there, and I go, where's the deer? And he goes, right over there. and it's this beautiful buck. And I go, "Oh, dude, man, you got a broken back. I'm sorry." Boom. It's like- so my, my buddy looks at me, he goes, "Damn, that was kind of cold." I'm going, "Oh, I don't want the guy to suffer." So
Yeah.
we threw him back of a pickup truck, took him into my hangar. I hung him up, stripped him out. His hindquarter was no good because he got hit in that back end. But I got the back straps out of it and gave my buddy the rest of the meat. One of my other buddies helped me
Nice.
skip.
Oh, that's
I,
great.
yeah, back straps, filet mignon, man. I
Yeah.
had up
Nothing
for
wrong with
have back.
that.
Yeah,
I
and I had
can't
his
say
high
I've
tan.
I've never done that. You know, like you hit a deer, whatever. Throw it in the back of the truck. Let's go.
Well, somebody else hit him. He was just driving by and saw the deer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, somebody else hit him. We think we know who actually hit it. But because we saw her front of her car was messed up a little bit and her grill was messed up a little bit, and the deer had a broken antler. But he was just a beautiful buck. Man, it was a shame that he had to be put down like that. But I called up the sheriff's department and I told him. He goes, "Oh, we'll send somebody out to shoot him." I go, "No, I already shot him." And he goes, "Well, I said, I just calling you to let you know if I can have the meat." And he goes, "Well, it's usually the person that hits the deer. We let them have the meat." And I said, "Okay, put me down as I hit him." "Oh, okay." It's like, throw him in the truck and off to go. You know?
Oh my gosh, I love it.
And I tanned his hide too. I tried to decide, I'm looking for somebody to make me a nice deerskin vest, you know?
Oh, hey,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Let me know if you find somebody. I don't know any.
Oh,
Well,
they're around, but Arizona, there's not, maybe up towards Phoenix or someplace, maybe
yeah.
Flagstaff, maybe somebody. So, but I want to get he didn't tan the hide the way I wanted. He didn't color it the way I wanted. I wanted a little bit darker, a little saddle tan. I think that would look good.
It would look nice. Yeah.
So I can't think of anything else. The Navy, what did I do in the Navy? Anything? Oh, I remember in the Navy when I used to go downtown, once in a while, I lost my hearing over there. Enemy poisoned our water and I got it in my ears and it swelled up and broke the little bones, the little hammer, I broke those stirrups. And so I ended up going to China Beach Hospital. And then from there, I went to Clark Air Force Base in the Philippines for the hospital there. And then they sent me to Naha, Okinawa, with a bunch of Marines, and the docs treated me there. And then they were going to send me back to the States. And I said, "No way, I'm going back to Vietnam." So they sent me back to Vietnam. And so after that, they took me away from all the steam loaders, the old what do you call those things that, they pick up the bombs off the, I used to drive, pick them up off the barges and put them on the trucks.
Oh, okay. All right. I don't know what that is.
I can't think of, they kind of come up, they got the load here and they come up like this, or they come down and you got and it's on a track. It's one of the old antique ones. But I was
like just a little crane, like a crane thing.
That's a crane.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I used to work with those, and but I couldn't. They were afraid I wouldn't hear somebody if somebody yelled at me. So to stop or something like that. So they took me out of all that, and then I drove trucks, and then I spliced cables for Mike boats and U-boats. Did that kind of thing. It was something on. Oh, I remember when I used to go downtown. I'd go downtown and have lunch, and I'd be walking downtown. I remember one time I was walking downtown, and this truck drives by me, and he's got one of the enemy, and they got his leg tied to the truck, and they're driving down the town, dragging this guy behind. And you can see the back of his head flopping out, and his leg was broken back. And another time, they did that to just don't be a sympathizer or Viet Cong. They do that to show what happens. Another time, I was going downtown. They had guys hanging on the telephone pole, on those things that you climb up the poles on.
Yeah,
they had them hanging there. They just had them there, hanging there.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. You see, oh, I've been to 3 camps that got overrun. That's right. On my camp, what they did is they got in for the main camp, got intel that they were going to overrun my camp. And Tom Kammer was the 3rd man to get a Purple Heart in Vietnam. Anyway, he was in Vietnam for I think 10 years. But anyway, he came on down to my camp. He was our team sergeant when I was on the A team. And he came down to my camp and he says, "Yeah, you got intel, you're going to get overrun tonight. I want to be here to help you." the camp. There's only one American, and I was there just for air support and stuff. So nothing happened. The whole night we sat out there. Nobody hit the camp. Nobody threw anything at us. No mortars, nothing. So he left and went back. And it was about 2 weeks later. I'm sitting in my little bunker down underneath the 50 caliber tower, and I'm down underneath there, and all of a sudden I hear this boom, 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 and I run outside, and with the H1 radio, I run outside, and I'm getting on camp. Says, "Hey, I'm being hit," like that, and they hit me with over 60 mortars on the camp. Had all my guys set up, getting ready to fight. We started throwing up flares with the 4.2 mortar, 4.2. Threw the flares up there, we're shining everything. And I had food gas out there, and the enemy's starting to come through the bushes. They were hiding behind trees and stuff too. And I started blowing those too. I had a system where I could blow anybody hiding behind a tree or a rock trying to shoot at me. I just pushed a button and it was gone. And so then I had I had that camp well fortified. But they started coming through the bushes. I saw them coming. And I just blew the food gas. They were almost to my camp. And so I blew the food gas, and the food gas evaporated, but it was a big flash. It was all white smoke, and it just lit up with the flash. And I'm going, it scared the shit out of the enemy. They all turned around and left. And I'm going, oh, that was good. And Colonel Rolt heard this. Colonel Rolt was the guy in charge of special forces. He was the commander of the 5th Special Forces in Vietnam.
Okay.
He was the one that got charged for killing a double agent. I don't know if you remember that.
I don't think I totally. No, I don't know that story.
Yeah, apparently it turned out was a double agent, but they got in trouble. Some guy that was on the boat with him didn't like what happened. Thought it was disgusting, and he couldn't live with it. Couldn't live with himself, and he told the news or something. And then that whole thing came down. But he was a double agent working on both sides. And but anyway, Colonel Rolt came out to my camp. This is another good story. Colonel Rolt came out to my camp because he heard that I turned away this ground attack, and he wanted to see my fortification. Well, I had chain link fence around all my bunkers and everything, because if you get hit with an RPG round, the RPG round is going to hit the chain link fence and explode. The only thing that's going to hit the sandbags is the little motor, so it protects you. And the other thing I did is I had lights in between all my bunkers around the camp. And so the enemy would sit out there during the day, and they would line up sticks to where your bunker is. And so what they would do is at night, because they can't see the bunkers at night because of the lights shining out, they would just sit there and just shoot machine guns into the bunkers. So what I did at night is I took the guys out of the bunkers, and I put them in between the bunkers by the lights, and they would sit there and fire back at the enemy if the enemy fired at us. And so I had all this set up, and it was a great camp, and a good bunch of men. I had 133 Vietnamese with me, and I had one Korean guy. I had one Chinese guy. He was my interpreter, but then I spoke Vietnamese. So, but Nua was his name, Big Nua. And so Nua and him and I were like brothers. We'd go downtown, get snockered and drink and, have fun, come on back. I threw parties for the guys. I had the Vietnamese, like what we call USO shows, Vietnamese shows. They would come out and do dances and strippers and all that junk. So we had a good time. But anyway, Colonel Rope comes out, and he's with Tom Kemmer. And he looks at me and he goes, "Jones, what's your rank?" And I told him, I said, "I'm a Spec 4, sir, like an E4. And he looks at Tom and he goes, "You can't have an E4 out here. It's got to be a hard 5 or above." And so the colonel looks at me and he goes, "There's a promotion board next week. I want you there." And I said, okay. I didn't have a uniform, nothing. I mean, I just wearing, I put tiger stripes on and threw them away and got a new set each week when I went to the main camp. Because I had Mondays were my day off, and I'd go downtown and stay with my girlfriends. But I go down the promotion. I went to this camp next door. It was a MACV camp. It was 5 miles up the road. So I went up there and I talked to him, and this captain there says, "I got a uniform for you." He says, "You can wear and I'll shine my boots for you." And he just took his pin on bars off. So I go to the board, I walk in, and they go, says, we're looking at your record. It says you were in the Navy. I go, yes, sir. He goes, what's the difference between a ship and a boat? And I'm going, there is a difference, but I don't know what it is. I said, sir, you can put a boat on a ship, but you can't put a ship on a boat. He goes, that makes sense. Okay, you can leave. So I left. I walk out. Everybody's all on top of me going, what'd they ask you? What'd they ask you? Because I was the first guy in. And I said, they asked me the difference between a ship and a boat. And they're all going, oh shit, we're in trouble. I don't know, what are they asking Navy questions for? so I said, I don't know. So I left. I thought I flunked. And a month later, the scores came out. It was all special forces, but the scores came out. And I got the highest score in country. And I got promoted in operations and intelligence. And I got a hard 5 stripe. True story.
Oh my gosh.
But
put a boat on a ship. You can't put a ship on a boat.
But it was so much fun. Military was fun back then. In fact, when I went in the Navy, if you did something wrong, they took you behind the woodshed and slapped you silly and said, snap out of it. You do your job. Yeah. Nowadays, you do that and they give you a discharge.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's so different. So different.
So crazy, I went back to the 3rd group just not too long ago. I went back and talked to the guys I went back and talked to the guys in Delta and stuff like that. And I had dinner with a couple of them. And it was amazing. I mean, they're a great bunch of guys. They gave me a tour and everything. And so then after that, I talked to the third group guys came up and said, hey, can you come over and talk to our guys? So Tilt and I went on over and talked to their guys. And they said, Sergeant Major goes, he goes, we got a bunch of guys in Africa. When they come back, are you willing to come back and talk to them as well? And I said, yeah, I'd be glad to, but that's going to cost you. And he goes, like, what? I really miss tailgating a 130. And he looks at me and he goes, free fall or static? I go, I don't care. Free fall would be great, especially with oxygen, So
get me up in altitude.
The colonel, that's right. Yeah, I want some time. I want some air time. So anyway, the colonel looks over and he looks at me and he goes, the commander of the group, he goes, yeah. I can make that happen. I can make that happen. And I told him, I said, man, for a free fall out of a 130 tailgate like that, man, I'd cut my ponytail off. And the colonel looks at me and he goes, no, don't do that. That shows individuality. I go, wow, that's kind of different. That's kind of different, That's kind of refreshing.
Oh God.
Because when I was in there, I remember walking into Sergeant Major's offices and stuff. Don't come in here with hair on your ears. Get out there, get a haircut, and come back here and talk to me. It's totally different, In fact, some of the guys that were on the Mike forces, they wanted me to go down there. One of the guys said, hey, tell Jones I want him down here. I want to talk to him. So I go and I talk to the Sergeant Major, and he's going, he said, I've heard nothing but good stuff about you on your A team there and stuff. And we'd like you to join our group of men here. And I'm going, well, I appreciate that, Top, but I really want to go to CNC. What do you want to go to CNC for? You get yourself killed up there. I go, that's why I want to go to CNC. I want to find out. I want to run some hard missions. I want to find out what it's like. And so we talked for a while and stuff. And he says, get your ass out of my office. So as I'm walking out the door, he goes, hey, Jones, keep your head down. Take care of yourself. Like that, So I left. And so that's when I went to CNC.
God.
So I remember one time when I was going back, I was home on 30 days leave and I was going back to Vietnam, and they put me in charge of this group of all these guys going back to Vietnam, or going to Vietnam for the first time. And this guy comes up and, we're in their barracks, and he goes, I'll be here in the morning to pick up some guys for doing some details around the base here. And so I said, okay. He says, anybody's got something to do, they can go do it. But if not, the rest stay here and I'll be picking them up. I said, okay. So he leaves, and I told my guys, I said, I want you guys to listen to me. I says, when you get up in the morning, you were going to get up an hour early, clean the place up, make it look really good. And you all have something to do, and then get out of here. So I cut them all loose. So the guy comes he comes in the morning and he's going, where is everybody? Oh, they all had something to do. They didn't all have something to do. Oh yeah, they had to go pick up clothing and some other stuff, some of their missing gear to take over to Vietnam and stuff. So I let them take care of it all. I don't think so. Like that. So he goes, next thing you know, this chief comes over, says, Sergeant Major wants to talk to you. I go over to the Sergeant Major and I see two guys standing out in front of his door. They're standing there, parade rest. I go, what are you guys doing here? He goes, they caught us playing pinball at the BX, the PX. And I'm going, are you serious? I says, you got to be smarter than that. I says, get out of here. Just go. He goes, we can't go. Look, I have higher rank than you do. Get your ass out of here. Go, take off. Don't get caught. So I go in and I talk to the Sergeant Major in there, and he's going, I understand you let all your men go. We found a couple of them over at the BX. I said, after a little talking back and forth, I go, Top, these guys are scared to death. They're going to Vietnam. They're leaving this country. Some of them might not even come back. I said, and you want them to go pick up leaves or sweep floors or wash dishes or something? I don't think so. They've all got something to do. Let them go have some fun. And after we talked back and forth, he says, you're okay. Get out of here. And so I left.
All right.
Yeah, he was old school. Yeah, he was old school. And that's the way it was in the old school, which was really cool. So,
yeah.
When I was over in Vietnam, I remember getting off the plane with these guys, and they were dropping flares off in the distance, and they were terrified. They're just regular leg guys, guys that didn't jump and stuff like that. Yeah. Going over the first, they thought the base was being overrun or something like that. I go, no, don't worry. It's nothing. It's not what you think. It's nothing. Just kick back, relax, but they were terrified. And those are kind of the things I ran into like that, and yeah. So, but I always treated the guys good. I still do. Even when I had my own company, I had a big radiology company up the hill here, up in Tucson. And I had a gal, her and I are good friends still. I'd marry her, man. She's hot. She's so beautiful. She's she's bilingual. She's bilingual. And so we hired her. And anyway, she would say, my boyfriend's in town. He's going to be here just for another few days before he has to go back in the Navy. And I said, can I have an extra time with lunch? I said, take the rest of the day off. I'll see you in a couple of days. Get out of here.
Nice. Nice.
I'd run the place by myself, and just answer the phone and stuff like that. I was just kind of a boss, Perfect. I always, yeah. And they always worked hard. All people worked hard for me, because if they needed time off, if they needed something, if they needed extra pay, I always took care of them. I took care of them. I mean, I was making a ton of money. It wasn't going to kill me to give them an extra $100. I didn't care. Yeah. So, but yeah. And I hired, some of the girlfriends of some of the bikers I used to hang out with. I used to hang out with a bunch of bikers, hardcore bikers. I mean, hardcore guys. I had a nice Harley chopper. I had a 6-pan shovel chopper, hardtail, 10 over in the front, and had black with flames on it. I mean, it was a beautiful bike. So I used to hang out with those guys, and when they got hurt, they would always come to me, because I had physical therapy equipment in my office as well. So I would treat them if they had aches and pains. I'd take X-rays of them and stuff like that. Anything I did it for free. I could go to any bar and where there's bikers, and I never paid for a drink.
Oh, that's amazing. That's the way to do it.
Yeah. What goes around comes around. And I get invited to some of their parties. I go to some of these parties, like with Hell's Angels and with the Dirty Dozen or something. I go to these parties and this guys, what are you doing here? Like that, because I just don't look like a biker, right? And finally, one of the guys come up and they go, he's with me. You know this guy? He goes, yeah, he's a good man. Like that. And so they would talk to him, get him up. Some of the guys would tell him who I was. And next thing you know, man, they took good care of me. I went to some great parties. Yeah, so they're good. Good guys.
Jim, this has been awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate all this. I really do.
Well, I enjoyed this. This is fun. This is really a lot of fun. I enjoy talking.
Yeah.
Anytime. Pretty soon I'll have my book done. It'll be out there, and with my book, I'm going to put a DVD with it.
Oh,
And
nice.
yeah, because I've got film of everything. I got film from when I was a little kid to, I still got my cameras and everything. I mean, I take films of everything. I'd like that first jump in that 30-foot seas.
Yeah.
They took a movie. One of the guys, oh, I almost had his name on the tip of my tongue. It's gone. He videoed it. And I'm hoping that the squadron still has that video. But I think Hagopian was his name. Hagopian. He was a Major Hagopian. I think that's it. And he took a video of it. He did a 8mm camera, took a video of that mission.
Wow.
I've got pictures of it. On my second mission, Bill McCullough, CNH Sugar has a little magazine that comes out every bi-monthly or quarterly. And he wrote a really cool story about it. It had all these pictures in it. And it was titled Angels in Flippers and Wetsuits.
Oh, that's great.
That's an awesome.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah. It was really, really a cool story. And he took
I gotta write that one down.
When he was in San Francisco, he took me out to dinner up in San Francisco at a Maxwell's. It's a really famous, very expensive restaurant up there.
Okay.
And to this day, I can go to CNH Sugar and get a ride on their ship. If I want to go to Hawaii, I can jump on the ship and they'll take me over.
Oh
no
my
charge.
gosh.
Yeah. You
know what, Jim? Take advantage. You've been through enough. Take advantage.
I've got it. I still got my military ID, and I don't hop flights. I need to hop flights. I need to just throw a bunch of money in my pocket and just hop flights, go any old place.
Yeah.
Out when I get there.
Space A. When you get there, have an adventure.
Yeah. I know. I used to do it from Travis Air Force Base in California because they got them going all over. I went up to Alaska to do some mountain climbing up there, up around McKinley and stuff. And I caught a flight back. I came back on a C5A. That was kind of fun. Big giant.
Is that one of those things like you're like cruising down, you're like, hey, just drop me off right there on the way. I'll just jump out.
Yeah. Give me a parachute. Open the door. I'm good.
I'm good. I need to go right there.
Yeah.
Just open the door. I'll get my own way home.
Now they're doing hey-ho. I'd like to do a hey-ho. I've done high altitude opening, 5,000 feet. I've opened up my canopy and fly around at 5,000 feet.
Okay.
But I've done that in the lakes and stuff. But now they're doing hey-ho. They're opening up probably around, 13,000, 20,000.
Oh my gosh. That's high.
Yeah, if they're up at 20, they've got to use oxygen. But you don't want to open up too high because you freeze your butt off up there. But yeah, and when you get down to, like when they jump at 20,000 over in Nam, they didn't use oxygen.
What did you do? Just hold your breath for a minute?
Yeah, no, you got a tank in the middle of the 130 and you're sucking on oxygen. And so when it's time to go and that green light's there, you just run out the back end and hold your breath. It only takes a few seconds to get down to to like 13,000.
Yeah, that's good.
Because you're faster. It's an 84-second delay from 20,000 down to 1,000 feet.
Oh.
Because we opened up at 1,000 feet over there. But, it only takes, it takes 84 seconds. So it doesn't take long to get down to where you can breathe.
Yeah. Because you can breathe after, 15, 13, 10. You should start breathing. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I've jumped. You can still breathe. You're just not getting a whole bunch. But I've jumped without altimeters before. I've counted. That's dumb. That's dumb. I remember one time I went out to
my God, Jim.
I went out to a drop zone and I'm going, where's my altimeter? I don't need it. So I go up about 7,500 feet or something like that. Hey, I'll get out here. I'll just jump for like 20 seconds. And so I just jump out and 1,001, 1,002, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. We used to have our ripcords here, just pull it.
Oh my God.
So I had a Cap 3 fail on me when I was over in Vietnam. And, because they're set for 1,000 feet above the ground. And so I'm free falling down, right? And all of a sudden, all of a sudden I feel something kicking in the back, but at the same time I'm getting ground rush, and I'm going, oh shit, So I reach in, I pull, all of a sudden it opened up, and I had a loose chest strap so I can arch a little bit easier. So I had that chest strap comes up and goes boom, hits me right in the face. So I'm on the ground, bloody nose and everything. And I'm going, your stupid cap 3 didn't work. So, but it opened up and I mean, I've had a couple of crazy jumps. I've got somewhere between 600 and 800 jumps, and I'd say probably only, probably about 30 of them or 40 of them are probably civilian. But I made a jump one time and it was at night, and we were going out, and I threw the chem light out, and I'm looking down, and my buddy goes, I go, boy, those chem lights are really bright. He goes, yeah, it must be one of those new high intensity ones. So I get on the horn and I'm going, hey, what's our altitude? He looks at it, he goes, 1,500. I go, okay, yeah, it's got to be one of those new high intensities. I jump out, boom, I'm on the ground. Chute opens up, boom, I'm right on the ground, just that fast. And the guy in the ground party goes, damn, you were pretty low. I go, yeah. So I get on the horn again, hey, what was our altitude? And he comes back and he goes, 1,500 MSL. And I'm going, we're up in the mountains, we're up in the hills in Pleasanton.
Okay.
And I'm just grateful I didn't jump out over a hill, because the hills were like this.
Oh, yeah.
I jumped here, and I'm glad we didn't run into a hill,
Jeez.
So, yeah. Because that unit, the rescue squadron, they did have where a chopper ran into a white cloud, solid cloud. Hit, it was they were good pilots too. It's just one of those things,
Yeah, it's
But-
it's actually something that we're going to start doing here, doing a lot of mountain flying, mountain rescue stuff. So it's actually interesting, and you could probably relate to some of this. So down here, we're kind of at sea level. So we're right off the Red Sea and Sea of Aqaba, and that corner. But you go there, and then 15 minutes, you're at 9,000 feet. So
wow.
yeah. So
Yeah.
sea level.
I hope
So in the
I hope-
same day, we could do a boat rescue or a water rescue, and then be up at 9,000 feet in the same day. That is potential.
Wow. I
Yeah.
just hope you can do it during the daytime and you can see. Well, now they got all these screens, I'm also a pilot, and I mean, you got all these screens, I mean, you can see mountains and everything where you're going,
Yeah.
and they got these little things, beep, 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 terrain ahead,
Yeah.
They got all this stuff,
Altitude.
Yeah. You're gonna die.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got all that crazy stuff, so I'm getting ready to buy. I'm going to sell my house here, the one I'm in. I'm one of those stupid people. I bought this place for a woman.
No. Oh, I missed it. So you bought the house
I
from
bought it for a woman.
Oh,
I bought it
for a woman.
I chased her for 18 years, and it just wasn't going to work out. And so I just said, nah, heck. But it was a good move. I bought this place for $228,000. I'm listing it for $778,000.
Damn.
Yep.
Jeez. That's a win.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm
Oh,
gonna buy a hangar with a little house inside the hangar in the back of it, and I'm gonna buy that down here at the Bisbee Airport. I'm just gonna buy that, and I'm just gonna buy myself a Mooney, and fly back and forth to see my kids a little bit more often than I do.
Oh, that'd
That'd
great.
be fun. And I can fly up to Tennessee and see Tilt and hang out. I like Chattanooga, and I really like Knoxville.
Yeah.
Awesome seafood in Knoxville.
Gosh.
So
I love it.
yeah, when I was on that Cobra 84 mission, when I was going in, the bamboo was whipping around. It hit my pants and tore the back of my pants out, and I never wore underwear or socks. So, and I'm walking through the jungle with this big white butt showing, But I had one when I was with Dan Sturr, and they were pulling us out, and Dan blew an abatis on a tree, and so I climbed out the tree to get, to up on the tree and climbed out to get out of the tree so the helicopter can get. And I grabbed the hold of the skid. 2 of the yards went in already, mont yards, and then I'm getting in, and they took off, and I'm hanging on the skid, and the chopper's flying away, and I'm hanging on the skid. I'm going, doesn't anybody see me here? And I'm like 400 or 500 feet away, and up in the air, and finally the yard's trying to get the gunner to look down, And the gunner yells to the pilot, we got a guy in a skid. So they slowed it down and then went ahead, and the one yard laid on the other yard on both their legs. And they reached way down, grabbed my arms and pulled me up, and I put my leg over the skid and got inside. But I could have been killed my first mission in SOG.
You are literally the luck of the Irish. You know this, right? Like,
yeah, I'm the luck. People ask, how do you deal with all that? And you know what I tell them? I said, the Lord watches over me, man. He's my best friend. He takes darn care of me. And and I still do all this crazy stuff, and I'm going, dear Lord Jesus, what do you do with somebody like me? You keep me alive, and I keep putting myself in danger. What's going on? But I mean, he's my best friend. I've had prayers actually just blatantly answered, No way it was a coincidence or whatever. I mean, they were answered. And when I was a little kid in England, I remember sitting at the foot of my bed, and there was a woman sitting on the foot of my bed, and it scared me. I moved back and forth, make sure it wasn't tricks with my eyes and stuff and curtains or whatever. There was a woman sitting on my bed. And so I called my grandma, and she came in, and she told me, after we talked for about 15, 20 minutes, she said there's probably a guardian angel that my mom asked to watch over me, because I was a little kid. So after about 15, 20 minutes, my grandma leaves the room, and the woman's still sitting at the foot of my bed, just sitting there. And she was pretty. She was real pretty. She had curly hair and had one arm, and she was just sitting on the edge of the bed, just looking at me. And so I just went to sleep. She was there. And to this day, I call her my guardian angel.
Oh, I love it.
That's a true story. And she was real. It was there, it was there. I mean, it wasn't nothing like I made up story or nothing. It was obviously like me looking at you, obviously there.
You just gave me chills. I
yeah,
like that.
No, there's a lot. I really believe in the life after, because I know it's real. Because I mean, I just know it's real. So that's probably one of the reasons why I do all the crazy things I do, risking my life to help others. Like our motto, we do
that
things
others
we
may
do,
live.
Live. Yeah. And the Coast Guard's what? That others may live.
So others may live. We just took instead of that, it's so.
Yeah.
But
so yeah, those are cool mottos.
Yeah. Jim, well, I've had you for like 3.5 hours. You know this, right?
Yeah, and I'm getting cotton mouth, and I'm looking at the time. My coffee's waiting for me down the street.
I'll tell you what, before I let you go, just a piece of advice that you would pass on to anybody and everybody else out there. You've been through so much in your life and career. What would you tell everybody?
I would tell people, if there's something you want to do, just do it, and just don't ever give up. Remember that, failure is not a failure. It's just a lesson learned. And all you do is put one foot in front of the other and just keep going. And you find an avenue. If you want something you want to do, you want to be an astronaut, you find the avenue and you just go do it, one foot in front of the other. And like I told my kids, if you want to, I said, if you want to be a librarian, be the best librarian you can be. I said, but if you want to be an astronaut, call up NASA and ask them what they're looking for. What do they need? And find out what it is and go to school for it and do it. My son's a top special agent for the Attorney General of Nevada. He's really a good kid, really smart. He was a linguist. He speaks, my wife was from Fresnillo, Zacatecas, Mexico. And so both my children speak Spanish, and good looking kids. I'm really blessed. But they both live in Carson City, and my daughter works for the Sheriff's Department. And my son served 6 years in the Air Force as a linguist. He worked with drug runners and stuff.
Dang.
So that's it. I tell people, and they said, well, you're lucky, and stuff. I said, no, I ran away from home. I had absolutely nothing. And when I got busted up in the Air Force and they booted me out, I ended up selling everything I owned to get my pre-med training and everything. And then what I did is I don't like giving people drugs for every ache and pain. So I went to school to become a chiropractor. And so when I finished chiropractic, what I did is I put in for a residency program, and I went to St. Louis and did a residency in radiology out there, and then came out here and I opened up a huge radiology clinic. In fact, I was there yesterday. since I left, they've been going down the tubes, but I had a run-in with my partner. Yeah, so, and I told him, I said, you tell him if he wants to sell it, I'll buy it. You know, I'll find the money. I'll find it. I'll get it. This ways of doing it. I know a lot of attorneys. And all my buddies that I hang out with are all MDs, you know, so because I worked mostly with medical doctors. You know, I worked for Southwest Radiology after I left Advanced Open MRI and stuff. And yeah, so I mean, just you can do it. If I can do it, anybody can do it, you know, and I'm not the smartest, I'm not the brightest light bulb around, you know. You just put one foot in front of the other and keep going. That's it. Just don't give up. And remember, failure is a lesson. It's not a failure.
Yes, sir.
So.
Jim, I can't thank you enough for coming on and sharing the stories, and your entire career is just mind-boggling. Thank you. So
yeah, we didn't even get into yeah, come on down. Hey, we didn't even get into the meteorite hunting and all that stuff. I hunt for meteorites.
I know. Oh my gosh, that's a whole nother conversation. Now you got coffee to go. Oh, I get to see some.
There's one right there.
Oh my gosh.
Meteors. It's $10,000 right there. Here, catch.
Yeah, thanks.
And here. That's a piece of the moon.
Hey. Oh, that's awesome.
That's a piece of the moon.
Unreal.
Yeah, what I do is I buy bulk of it stuff, you know, and then I just turn around and break it up and sell it. Except for that one big piece, that's iron. That one's not going to break up. So
I love it. I'm coming down. I'm gonna come hang out with you. We're gonna go hang out. That's all there is to it.
But
coffee.
By the time you get here, we'll go flying. I'll have the plane by then.
Done.
We'll go place. We can fly all over the place. Go have breakfast and stuff.
I like that idea very, very much. Well,
you got it,
thank
buddy.
you. I'll talk to you soon. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, you too.
God bless, and thank you for your service.
You too. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are out of here. Go. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Real ResQ podcast. Please take a minute to like, subscribe, and hit that share button. I'm pulling chocks and taking off. But before I go, if anyone out there has a rescue story they would be willing to share, I would be humbled and honored to have you on as a guest. Or if you have any questions about rescue or anything else we talk about here, send an email to jason@therealresq.com. That's Jason at TheRealResq.com. You can also check us out on our web pages, therealresq.com, our Facebook page, and our Instagram page @TheRealResQ. Again, a special thank you to all of you staying on the watch today. Always remember, when that SAR alarm goes off, those in distress are praying for a miracle. They are going to get you. Until next time, fly safe and swim hard.